Is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning. 4 weeks of rising COVID cases, 146 new cases reported in the country last week. As 69 who got the vaccine locally reported some mild symptoms. And Paho says the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine outweigh the risks. Plus, it is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Today we begin a series looking at the Child Protection Act, what is covered. It's all straight ahead this morning. I'm Dwight Strachan, and this is Morning Blend.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's here. It's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Good morning again, Bahamas. It is Thursday, April 8th, 2021. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, I'm Dwight Strachan. In a moment, Laverne Gardner will be joining us. Also this morning in Morning Blend Business, it is also Financial Literacy Month, and we'll be talking about that this morning. Just how literate are you financially, and what can you do to improve that? We'll get into that today, part one of a series all month long. But first, it's time for the Overnight, the latest breaking news from while you're sleeping, and the top national and international headlines this morning. In the overnight, the Bahamas experienced an increase in COVID cases for 4 consecutive weeks, according to health officials. They're expressing concern with a marked increase in cases on New Providence, Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, and Abaco. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan yesterday noted that 146 new cases were reported in the country last week. She says that although this appears to be a reduction from the week prior, this time period included Easter, when many of the testing centers were closed. She said the average number of cases each week was steadily rising from February, which corresponds with epidemiological week 8. The week of March 28th, which was Epi week 13, also appears to have decreased in the average, but they are cautioning, again, because this week coincided with Easter. As of April 6th, there were 9,296 cases recorded in the Bahamas. The majority of those cases were reported on New Providence, which has 6,489 overall cases and 117 active cases, and Grand Bahama, which has 1,490 cases but 102 active cases. Since the start of the pandemic, Eleuthera reported 201 cases. 92 of those cases were reported in North Eleuthera, 67 in South, and 42 in Central. McMillan noting that there was a marked increase in cases on that island as well. Meanwhile, 69 people who received their first jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine reported mild symptoms supposedly attributed to getting vaccine. None of the reports result in hospitalizations. When asked about the UK government's decision to offer alternative vaccines for healthy adults under 30, after the European Medicines Agency reported that rare blood clots may be a side effect of the AstraZeneca vaccine, Macmillan noting, quote, as we move down the road of immunizations with AstraZeneca, we have to continue to monitor what the science is giving direction to. This would have come to our attention, and certainly considerations along that line may have to occur. And Chief Medical Officer Macmillan suggesting that political campaigning should not take place during the COVID-19 pandemic. She says if there is concern about activities that are occurring, there are a number of avenues for individuals to make reports. Meanwhile, more Bahamians and residents, including teachers and school staff, hospitality workers, students, and athletes studying or competing abroad and homebound physically disabled people are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. That's according to the National COVID-19 Vaccine Consultative Committee. The committee saying yesterday over 10,000 people have received their first shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine since mid-March when the rollout started. And Pastor Julian Johnson was released on $1,000 bail yesterday after he spent the night in prison. The 50-year-old Johnson of Parkgate Road East is charged with intentional libel after he accused Police Commissioner Paul Roll of sexually assaulting female officers in a Facebook Live broadcast last month. Prosecutors allege that Johnson intended to defame the commissioner with his comments. Johnson has denied the charge. Overseas, young people set a hijacked bus on fire and hurled gasoline bombs at police in Belfast in at least the fourth night of serious violence in a week in Northern Ireland, where Britain's exit from the European Union has unsettled an uneasy political balance. People also lobbed bricks, fireworks, and gasoline bombs Wednesday night in both directions over a concrete peace wall that separates Protestant, British loyalist, and Catholic Irish nationalist neighborhoods. Police Service of Northern Ireland Assistant Chief Constable Jonathan Roberts saying several hundred people gathered on both sides of a gate in the wall where crowds were committing serious criminal offenses, according to the police, both attacking officers and attacking each other. Police saying that a total of 55 police officers have been injured over several nights of disorder. The recent violence, largely in loyalist Protestant areas, has flared amid rising tensions over post-Brexit trade rules for Northern Ireland and worsening relations with the parties in the Protestant Catholic power-sharing Belfast government. Britain's economic split from the EU last year has disturbed the political balance in Northern Ireland, where some people identify as British and want to stay part of the UK, while others see themselves as Irish and seek unity with the neighbouring Republic of Ireland, which is an EU member. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson condemned the unrest, and Northern Ireland's Belfast-based government was holding an emergency meeting today on the violence. Johnson's appealing for calm, saying the way to resolve differences is through dialogue, not violence or criminality. Northern Ireland First Minister Arlene Foster of the pro-British Democratic Unionist Party and Deputy First Minister Michelle O'Neill of the Irish Nationalist Party Sinn Féin both condemned the disorder and attacks on police. In sports, Stephen Adderley is now the fourth Bahamian to enter the Miami Marlins system in Major League Baseball after he signed on the dotted line this week. The iElite product joins Ian Lewis, Andrew Arthur, and Major Leaguer Jazz Chisholm in the Marlins system. It's been a long process for Adderley to get to this point. Originally from Grand Bahama, the outfielder left home and moved to New Providence to attend International Elite. You can read more about his journey in today's Guardian Sports section. And overseas, for the second year in a row, the traditional French Open schedule is being disrupted by the coronavirus pandemic. The Clay Court Grand Slam tennis tournament saying today that it will push back the start of this season's event by 1 week because of surging virus cases in France. According to the president of the French Tennis Federation, the postponement will give them more time to improve the health situation and should allow them to optimize chances of welcoming spectators at Roland Garros. The French Open was scheduled to start May 23rd, but first-round matches will now get underway May 30th. Last year's tournament was pushed back to September because of the pandemic, with crowds limited to 1,000 per day. The delay will have a knock-on effect on the grass court season, but not Wimbledon. Tennis authorities lengthened the gap between the French Open final and the start of Wimbledon to 3 weeks in 2015, giving players extra time to get used to the fastest surface in the game. But because of the delay announced Thursday, the season will be reduced to 2 weeks, plus Wimbledon. That's sports, and that's the overnight. Time for your first look at weather. In your weather for today, high pressure centered north of the area will continue to dominate weather across the country as it has for the past few days. For all areas today, your forecast calls for variably cloudy and warm conditions with a slight chance of an isolated shower or two through tonight. Winds east to southeast at 10 to 50 knots, but falling light and variable at times in the northwest Bahamas and 10 to 50 knots in the central and southeast Bahamas. Seas 2 to 4 feet in the northwestern islands, but 2 to 4 feet in the central and southeastern islands. Temperature-wise, right now, it's about 64 degrees under fair skies in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 81 Fahrenheit today, 27 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. That's your first look at weather this morning. We'll have your extended outlook coming up after traffic in just a bit. It's time for a break, but when we come back, we're discussing the day's top stories right here on Guardian Radio 96.9, your home for fresh news and smart talk all day.
Technology serves to make our lives better, so why not your business too? At Custom Computers, we've been maintaining our knowledge and relationships with top tech companies since 1987 and carry only the most trusted brands like Apple, Microsoft, HP, and more. No company has helped more businesses build reliable IT systems than Custom Computers. You name it, we've done it. Call 396-1101 to talk to any of our business experts. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Lasanya Mizik, Managing Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduce risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day. It's the start of a new way. You know that it's the start of the end of the old way. Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Flow Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/MorningBlend969. Text us 4224796 on the Guardian Radio text line powered by BTC. Standard text rates apply. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Joining me now, Laverne Gardner. Laverne Gardner, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you're doing well as well.
Yeah, I'm a little chilly this morning, but okay.
What's the temperature like that up there? We know it's like 63 or 4 here. You're in the 50s
I'm getting
up there?
64 here
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. All right. Right. You should be thankful. This is probably it. We probably won't get this again until maybe November.
Yes, this is true. I should be thankful, but I'm one of those people who only like perfect days.
Oh, I see.
The right amount of sun, with the right amount of breeze.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been interesting because we've been getting into the 80s and then dipping into the low 60s. So 20.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, I was like, summer already started.
So the 20 degree temperature drop is interesting. But hey, as you said, don't get too used to it. This won't be much longer. It won't be much longer at all. But anyway, always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Yes, I love being here.
And we have a lot to get to this morning. Coming up, we've got more weather and traffic. And in our 7 o'clock hour, we're going to start a conversation, the beginning of a series, as it is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We're going to be talking about the Child Protection Act. There's a lot covered in that, and we're going to get to that today. And if we don't get through much, we will have a part 2 on that. And then later in Morning Blend Business, it is also Financial Literacy Month, and we're going to be talking about that, just that exactly. How literate are you financially and what you need to know, what you need to improve, and is it really that easy just to say, hey, let me do better? Well, we'll see. We will see. That's coming up.
Yes.
But let's begin, though, with what's in the news. And in the news, 4 weeks of rising COVID cases. 4 weeks, 146 new cases reported in the country last week alone. What's happening? The Ministry of Health holding their first press conference in quite a while yesterday, giving a better picture of what's going on and what we need to do to arrest these rising numbers. And more of the same is what we've been hearing and what we heard yesterday. But is that going to be enough to say that? For more on what was discussed yesterday, take a listen to this report from our Kyle Joaquin.
Be they political, be they a party, be they a gathering of family, we have to continue to follow the public health measures.
McMillan's statement came after repeated questioning from reporters about political events occurring, whether they be walkabouts, meetings, or even constituency headquarter openings. During a time when families are limited to 40 for a funeral, McMillan was pressed on the position taken by the Ministry of Health. And while she tried to shy away from giving a position and said political activity was not being monitored, she did say this.
I think in what I just, the address I just made, I made it very clear. Those types of gatherings should not be occurring. And certainly individuals have, a responsibility to protect themselves. And certainly our recommendations remain the same. There should not be gatherings that are above and beyond what, has been agreed upon in the emergency orders, as well as, you need to wear your mask.
And in the emergency orders, All social gatherings on New Providence, Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma are prohibited. Health officials continue to monitor an increase in COVID-19 cases, particularly in New Providence, where there are 117 active cases, and Grand Bahama, where there are 102.
146 new cases were reported for last week, which was Epi Week 13. Though this appears to be a reduction from the week prior, it should be noted that last week coincided with Easter, when many of the testing centers either closed or had reduced operating hours, and/or
there are 240 active cases in country, with 3 in intensive care at Doctors Hospital. Over 10,000 people have been vaccinated in country thus far.
The Ministry of Health is aware that some Bahamians may have obtained their COVID-19 vaccine in the United States. The Ministry of Health requests that persons who have obtained a vaccine from outside of the Bahamas relay that information to us soonest.
And now the priority list for COVID-19 vaccinations in country has been adjusted. That list now includes teachers and staff of schools, hospitality workers, students and athletes studying or competing abroad, and the homebound physically disabled. There are also more vaccination centers, including Loyola Hall, Church of God of Prophecy East Street, Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium, as well as Atlantis and Bahamar. But with concern growing once again about the potential of blood clots as a risk associated with the AstraZeneca vaccine, health officials once again saying the benefits far outweigh the risks.
Actually, the chance of getting the blood clot is way less than 0.1%. It's about 0.0065%. And so it's an extremely rare side effect that's possible. And scientists are not really quite clear on what exactly could be causing that at this time. So the overall position is that the benefits for this vaccine do still outweigh the risk of this vaccine.
What health officials also addressed were reports of an overweight man dying on the island of Bimini because he could not fit in the isopod for airlift. We now know that there is a weight restriction of 270 pounds, but that health officials seek to find a way around it.
It's clear that we have to seek to determine the best way for us to be in a better position to manage persons beyond the weight limit of the pods. And certainly all efforts are being put forward to determine exactly how we will do that in the shortest time to prevent us from being in that position again.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Okay, quite a bit said in that report there. Let's break down each part of it, talking about what the Europeans are saying about the AstraZeneca vaccine, the social gatherings that are happening, the political gatherings that are happening, and just everything in general. Okay, so let's talk about it all. Where do you want to begin? Let's begin with the political gatherings. All right. So everybody knows this. Do you need the doctors to tell you that these shouldn't be happening? Everybody knows this. Everybody except for the people who put on the T-shirts and carry on like idiots in the street, right? Everybody else knows this is not supposed to be happening. And I don't know what well, I guess they wanted her to say, no, that shouldn't be happening. But yeah, that's... But... Anyway, I don't understand this place, Laverne. I don't understand.
Different set of rules, Dwight. I don't know if they have some, because it's always following the science, right? So I don't know if these political groups have some scientific data that says it's okay for you to gather, to have these walkabouts. They keep saying, well, everybody has on masks and we're social distancing, but you see the footage, they're not social distancing. And it's unsafe and it should not be occurring. That is just the bottom line of it.
Yep,
it's unsafe and it should not be occurring.
Blatant hypocrisy on the part of the police and the politicians.
If it was you or I having a walkabout for whatever reason, we'd probably be before the courts.
Absolutely. Right? So we all know, and this is a shameful act, and we've been saying that. The police should be ashamed of themselves, and our politicians, every last one of them, including the Prime Minister, should be ashamed of himself. Everyone. But these people don't care. Obviously, they don't. No shame at all. The nerve to do this nonsense. It's ridiculous. But I blame the people who are out there putting on the T-shirts too, though. I mean, something's wrong with you as well, right? That you would follow behind these hypocrites. Follow behind these hypocrites and do this garbage. But anyway.
That's the other thing, because why are you agreeing to do this?
They have no minds.
If they want to have a walkabout, let them walk about them just alone. But they have all of these people who are gathering, who are going door to door. And, but on the other hand, you're telling us that we're not out of danger, that we still have to make sure that we amend and adjust our behavior, that over the Easter holiday, we can try not to frequent the beach and all the other things, and we have to be so careful. Like, how many times are we going to hear this message, and then 2 days later, we see footage of all of this campaigning going on?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So I don't know what else. What else people want to say? It's like they're trying to trip Pearl McMillan up. But she said at social gatherings that includes all of this. It includes everything, right? So, okay. Now, the bigger issue is this AstraZeneca report, from the European Medicines Agency, and this study into what's causing these rare blood clots with certain people. There's a small number, a tiny number, but it is still an issue of concern. Some countries saying that they're not going to recommend it for people under 30. And the doctors here are saying, well, the risks are so minuscule compared to the benefits. The same story they keep saying. And but not really getting a definitive answer from them here about that.
And we have to consider that there has already been a reluctance on the part of some Bahamians to get vaccinated or to get this particular vaccine. And the fact that you're still not definitively saying, these cause blood clots. It's rare. You're kind of walking all around the issue. So people who are already on the fence or who were reluctant, they're just going to double down.
Yeah. Now, this was interesting, though. What was the number? I don't see in any of the articles, the number that she gave, Dr. Nakia Forbes, when she was asked about this yesterday, about the percentage. It was 0.0 something something.
Yeah. It really wasn't.
It's a tiny number.
It was minuscule.
Yeah. And one of my coworkers made a fantastic point the other day, right? So it's, according to Dr. Forbes, 0.00. In fact, I want to see if the producer could go back, if our producer can go back to the end of the story so we can hear what Dr. Forbes says, the exact number, 0.000 something, right? But one of my coworkers was saying how that is a much tinier risk point for blood clots than women who are on birth control. That's right. It's 0.3 to 1%. And so, honestly, that's really tiny then.
It is, but remember, Dwight, if you're already reluctant, you're just holding on to anything, right? So, because like I said, there was so much things being said about it going around on social media. Every day there's still more videos, more opinions coming out. And so you're saying that's minuscule, I agree, but just because of the general nature of people, and they already, when you already feel a certain way, you're grasping onto anything that maybe supports your feeling.
Yeah. No, very true. Very true. Very true. All right. Here we go. This is it here. Actually, the chance of getting a blood clot is way less than 0.1%. It's about 0.0065. That's, wow.
Right.
And again, compared to some other things, yeah, that is...
Yeah.
That's really... Yeah. Okay. Let's hear what you have to say about it, folks. I think we need to try something new going forward here. So if you are opposed to the vaccine, any vaccine, we've heard you all for many, 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 many weeks. So we don't need to have you calling in. How about that? But people who have genuine concerns about this vaccine, AstraZeneca, and would prefer something else, we can talk. But if you've already stated your case. You don't want it. You don't have to take it. Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't know if you're looking for company, but let's talk to people who have genuine concerns about the vaccines we're getting here.
Right.
Is that a good deal? That sound fair?
We'll see how it works.
Oh, boy. Okay. 323-6232. 325-4316. 325-4259. Tweet us, Facebook us, text us, 422-4796. All right, deep breath, Laverne. Deep breath.
Here we go.
Okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
My question is, I don't know if anybody asked any of the medical people this ever. What numbers constitute a wave? Because you're always saying this is first wave, second wave, third wave. But what are the numbers that constitute a wave? Because from last year, March, to I think July, we had under 100 cases, and they got that a wave.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple weeks' time, we had more than 100 cases, and that's not considered a wave.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
But
because it's kind of confusing for me that we keep playing these little hide and seek games with the numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Calling one set of numbers wave, other set of numbers we just consider.
Yeah. Yep. No, you're raising great points.
So when I listen to the medical people, even the minister, like they just playing semantics. Okay, they have to decide to let the general public know what is considered, what amount of persons testing positive is considered a wave, or what amount of persons hospitalized is considered a wave.
Yeah.
Because the extension with trying to call something a wave when they defined the wave from the first time as it was under 100%, and they call that a wave.
Mm-hmm.
And then since then, after July, we had like 100 people almost, and a day we was averaging at one point in time over 90-something persons a day testing positive.
Yep.
Now, yesterday, I think in a couple of weeks' time, it was almost 200 persons, but that ain't a wave.
Well, some of them are saying it. Some of them are saying this could be the third wave. But you're right.
Saying it could be a third wave is different than saying that it's actually a wave.
Yes.
But it's just a wave. There's a tidal wave. It's a tsunami. But
I suspect
they need to be more open and straightforward with just my point of view.
Yeah.
When they're discussing this thing, because at one point we had the whole country shut down for one person when they tested positive the first time. We shut the whole country down. But now, political people, because it suits the political parties, more so the government, more so, because the government in control of this situation as the emergency or to stay in control.
Yeah.
Because they need to suit their political purpose. 20 people, 1,000 people campaigning ain't considered nothing wrong as long as you're masked.
Right.
But people can't have a wedding reception with 50% outside. That's the problem.
The hypocrisy is crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
We need leaders with integrity. That's the biggest problem we're missing in our country right now is the leaders with integrity.
Absolutely.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Thank you very much.
Suit your purpose.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much. I suspect 4 weeks of rising cases and increase in numbers and hospitalizations will be the reason why we're hearing this type of language. But but he's making some good points.
Right. But and I don't think that we're going to hear the word wave right now, especially when you consider the country is open, arrangements are being made for cruise ships to cruise here. So you don't want to put out there that we're experiencing another wave. Mm-hmm. So you kind of allude to it. And then also, like the caller said, people are out campaigning. So you allude to it. You say it looks like it, but you don't necessarily want to put that out there.
Yep.
That's what I think, at this point, because you've got so many things going on in terms of trying to boost tourism, and making all of these deals and arrangements, for you to now say that we are experiencing another wave. So you may be reluctant to just say the word, but like the caller said, if we're experiencing over 100 cases every week,
it would be great. It would be great if we all could be on the same page. Like when this happens, that yes, this is officially a wave. This is something to be concerned about, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dwight. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your guest just alluded to political motivation for the way these numbers are being talked about.
Yeah.
But if you look at the correlation between when these campaigns started ramping up, or people started not protesting, I meant going door to door campaigning, the same numbers started going up. Isn't that kind of coincidental?
Yesterday, they mentioned travel quite a bit as well. They did mention travel quite a bit. I mean, people have been traveling more too.
Right, but it's mostly New Providence and Grand Bahama, so travel is not really that big of a deal.
But I mean, traveling, I think outside the country, traveling, a lot of people.
Inside the country?
No, a lot of people have been traveling outside the country. So who knows?
Did they give those numbers?
All they said was travel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the point, though. I'm looking closely at why they put a travel restriction on Eleuthera. But did they give a real justification for it? Because I didn't hear it.
Well,
can you tell me what they said? Because I don't recall.
The numbers were going up.
But that's not the case.
The numbers were going up. They did talk about that.
Compared to Abaco and the rest of the outer islands?
All right, so in today's paper, since the start of the pandemic, Luther's reported 201 cases. 92 of those were reported in North, 67 in South, and 42 in Central. Macmillan noted that there was a marked increase in cases on the island. She said they were primarily imported or import-related. Now, what does that mean?
So the total number on Luther was
coming in?
The total number has been 201. So she said between January 2021 and April 2021, which is the latest data that we have been monitoring, we see that North Eleuthera was responsible for 81% of the cases on Eleuthera. This coincided with the spike that we saw on that island. Minister of Health Renwick Wells says the ministry dispatched a health team to the island last week to assess and intensify contact tracing. He said that special emphasis was placed on Harbor Island. He said the team completed the following tasks. They determined the number of COVID-19 positive cases, assessed whether there was a need for widespread testing, evaluated the manpower on the ground to enforce policies and procedures, and commenced the rollout of COVID-19 vaccinations. And there's a lot more there. Anyway, he says the team trained personnel. Okay, yeah. But due to staff difficulties were noted in conducting complete contact tracing activities. But anyway, the numbers had a spike since the start of the year.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that makes sense to me now then.
They don't have more than Abaco in total, but they did have a spike since January.
All right. That makes sense to me. I'll take that.
Okay.
All right, thanks. I like to listen.
Sure. All right. Let's take another call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Dwight. What's up?
Yeah, we're doing well.
All right. Good morning, Lady Gardner, and good morning to those who wake up in the land of the living. Dwight,
good morning.
Are you familiar with Harbor Island and Eleuthera?
Yes.
Okay. Yesterday, I was talking to someone from Harbor Island, and they was telling me that in order to travel to the mainland, you have to take a test. Is that true?
Yes. That was announced last week.
But the thing about it, right, if you know Harbor, you know Bryland, and from Bryland, you can, they call it the Tree Island Dock. You mean to tell me that, you have to pay to go from one end to the next end across the water?
Yep.
But you know what my friend tell me, and I can say it on the radio this morning, Dwight, and some people might agree or disagree. She lives in Harbor Island. You know the different type of wave it is, or a COVID wave. that the people, the powers that they're creating, the wave that they're creating is smuggling. Bahamians smuggling each others. You know, one time ago, you know, we used to hearing people coming down south and Bahamians or they smuggling their way here. Bahamians got to smuggle their way, not because they want to, you know, because they can't afford this testing, right? Or it's beyond their budget. They have to find a way that they could jump in a boat and smuggle from one end of the island to the next end of the island.
Well, I'm sure they don't do that for free.
No, you got to buy boat gas. But I'm saying you're right, Dwight.
So
I'm talking about this testing thing. That's what I'm saying. She said to me, because if she's going from Harbor Island to the mainland, which is Tree Island Dock, you have to pay. Come on, man, Dwight, man.
Yeah, but
be realistic.
Okay, so what is it? I mean, you want you
first
smuggle
of all,
COVID, right?
You think like certain. Okay, I realize that the government has to make some sort of money, or the private sector some way, right? But I also realize that some people cannot afford this testing thing. Some people want to get tested. They want to travel. They want to move around, but they can't afford it, Dwight.
Okay.
What I'm saying to you, why can't it be free?
Yes, now that's a good
cases?
question. And that's because the test by itself is not a bad thing, but the cost is a problem. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, Dwight, you know, when I see how much it is, like I was telling one of my family members in Grand Bahama, you know, I was telling my grand aunt, you know, God forbid if she passed away, it ain't like I ain't got the money to come. But I ain't paying almost $700 to go to Grand Bahama. For what, Dwight? For what? I tell them it's cheaper they have a funeral, and like they did before when one of my family members in video do it, so we could see it like that. But it's killing, man. We understand the COVID is here, but we got to understand government. This one for the government. Please, man, take the cost and the strain off the poor people. Most people in last weekend and on the family island is worse. Because my friend, I tell you, sometimes we have to get together and send us something for her children. So it's rough, man. Come on, man, Dwight, man. This is not fair.
Yeah.
This is not fair, you know. And you know, at times I can be political, and most of the times I try not to. But this time, government. Y'all are the government. Y'all asked for the job. Yes, y'all didn't ask for the COVID. We understand that, but you got to deal with the people's needs. Y'all have a good day, Mr.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's right.
So, a common cry people have been saying, why is it so much for this test?
Dwight, it is costly, you know, and we can't avoid that. And so I don't know if the rationale is the cost to use it as a deterrent to discourage people.
Somebody's thinking that, I'm sure.
But people have to travel. I'm not talking about people who are just traveling casually. There are sick people who have to travel to Nassau from Grand Bahama to get treatment for cancer. There are people who have their elderly parents, loved ones on another island that because of COVID, they haven't seen in a year, almost a year. And people have to travel. And now they are faced with these exorbitant costs to go and to return.
Yep. But not just for travel. There are some sick people who need to know, right? People who are walking around here who are healthy and refuse to take a test because, well, they don't think they have any reason to. This has been the problem we've had from a year ago, right? But because of the cost of this test, which used to be over $200 and now is over $100, but people have said, I'm not paying for that.
Right.
Especially if I feel fine. And that has been a problem that has kept our numbers lower than they probably are. But this is a common cry, and nothing is being done about it. I think this is somewhat similar to what the Chinese were hitting at, right? With their response to the U.S., like we're making some of these things more, or helping to make these things more affordable.
More affordable.
Yeah. But yeah, who is to blame for these high prices?
Is free.
Right. Yep.
If the vaccine
crazy.
Is free.
But I mean, DeWitt said it. I don't know. Oh, boy, is it that sinister that this is high to help the private sector, to help them make some money? That's very, wow. Well, I hope not. But okay. Let's take some more calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Mr. Strachan, how are you doing, sir?
Hi, good morning.
Ms. Gardner, how you doing?
Good morning.
Ms. Gardner, let me ask you a question. How y'all making it over there? I mean, with those officers, giving out tickets for everything, man. How y'all making it, though?
Well, we're not experiencing as many roadblocks as we used to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mr. Strachan.
Hey.
I mean, listen, I'll be political, right? And I'll make some sense. Mr. Philip Brave Davis said a long time, make testing free. Like Jamaicans say, this a money thing for doctors, this a money thing. Why are you charging people all this money? First of all, right, if people get tested and the people know they have the coronavirus, they will take the vaccine. That makes sense, Ms. Gardner? That makes sense?
If people know they have...
No, I'm trying to say right now, if testing is free and the population know they have a coronavirus problem, they will take the vaccine. I mean, that's common sense. All this is now is a money thing. It's a money thing for greedy doctors. Another thing, right? Put McMillan and Ronald Wells, they don't talk. She's saying one thing and he's saying the next thing. You see what I'm saying?
No, what did they say?
Listen to me. She said no political events. Ronald Wells say political events go on with the numbers. Now, Mr. Strachan, that's a question.
Well, he's a politician, so nobody's expecting anything more from him.
Listen to me now. He is the CMO boss, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's the boss.
And he's a politician, so they are full of it. Politicians are full of it and would say something silly like that.
Mr. Strachan, last thing.
But go with what the doctors say.
I mean, sorry, sir. I mean, she's a foot doctor.
What now? Okay.
She's a cast doctor. So hello?
Boy, Dave, I don't know. What? What did he say? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, my.
Let's just leave that right
I
there.
don't know what that was. What? Anyway, good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, good morning, Dwight and Ms. Gardner.
Hi.
Good morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate, right? But I don't normally agree with what he named just now, right? But at the end of the day, right, I also feel that it's all about the money, right? COVID ain't going no place right now because the pharmaceutical industries are making billions and billions of dollars from it, right? There's no way they're going to just try to end this right now, because at the end of the day, the vaccination ain't helping nobody, right? At least it say it helps some people, right? But it can't help everybody, right? It can't stop the virus, right? But the big horse is testing, right? Because that's where the money is. There's testing. But let me just go to the next point when you're talking about the tourism, right? Tourism is one of the oldest horse we have inside this, right? He's very old, right, or she, right? Very old. And we was beating this horse, right, for so long. This horse was dead before COVID-19 hit the Bahamas, our tourism, right? Because we only was holding on the fact that we had some boats coming to the Bahamas shores, right, and bringing people who weren't spending any money, right? And that was our glory. But our tourism product been dead for some time in this country, and it seems that no government want to try to look at diversifying this economy to the point that we find ourselves in a new industry. Tourism or banking are first and second industry, right? None of them are owned by the Bahamas. So when we can have some visionary leaders, what can come about, what can replace our tourism industry? I never say get rid of it, but make it a second industry rather than the first, because it's always doom belongs to us. And why are we paying all of these people in the Ministry of Tourism, right? There's nothing they could do to our tourism product, because our tourism product is controlled by people in foreign. We have to be truthful in this country.
No, I don't know if I agree with you on that. I think our challenge has been we didn't diversify our tourism product. There's a lot more that could be done. We can look around the region and other parts of the world where every year there's something new to see, and it's not dependent on hotels that are owned by foreigners, as you're saying.
And
not dependent on hotels.
Great. Before I go, I'm glad you said that, because in that type of tourism, right, you have natives involved, right? That's why it's so easy for it to happen. But in the Bahamas, right, we we try to limit the involvement of the citizen in this tourism product, right? We limit it down to just having a job inside this product. But what if we was diversified, like you said, where we had more interaction with this product? Then we could have had a different form of tourism product. But for right now, it's just the Staffistan model that nobody seems to want to upgrade. I would like to say thank you.
Thanks a lot. Said a lot of interesting things, but again, I don't think we've beaten a part of the tourism horse. Not
We're like that one-trick pony.
Right. But there's a whole stable out there, right? There's a whole field of other horses involving tourism. But again, I keep saying this on the show that the other industries, the diversified economy, that's not going to come from the government. It's going to have to be driven by the people. What you want to see, what you are interested in working on or working in and making a career out of. Right? You don't want the government to tell you, this will be our new industry. You don't want that. You don't want that. You have to drive it. What do you want? What do you think we should be doing? You do that, the government will follow. But anyway, no one listens to me. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good morning, Dwight and Ms. Gardner. How y'all doing?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Gardner. And good morning to the nation. I want to join in with some of the other callers. I do believe that the government has a direct responsibility in this entire fiasco as it relates to providing, as the leader of the opposition has been calling for close to 1 year now, to provide not only free COVID-19 testing and to ensure that it casts the net wide enough for testing, which we have yet to do after over 1 year of COVID-19. We are still only testing a minimal amount of persons. We also need to ensure that free COVID-19 testing is provided through those family islands, because when we look at what is happening as a direct consequence, ease of doing business is out the window now as a result of these additional added measures that are extreme, that the government directly has put on the local community in those family islands and as well as in the capital. When you look at cost of living, we are in an extreme time where we have lost 16% of our GDP with no plan of recovery, where we have record level unemployment with no plan of recovery, where we have national record level setting deficits, fiscal deficits and debt every fiscal year with no plan of recovery, and the government is directly increasing the cost of water, of light, of government services, et cetera. On top of all of that, they're giving the Bahamian people $25, $20 a week, and they're still increasing the cost of living with these multiple costs to travel into island as well as between family islands. Can you imagine being a single parent, right, with one or two children, and you have to relocate to another family island, as the government is encouraging people to do, Bahamians to do, in order to find work? But you cannot afford to come back home to visit your children. You cannot afford to come back home to visit your elderly parents, to provide care for them. You cannot afford to see your husband or your wife. This is insane what this government is doing. This government has no idea what it is doing, and its policies are extremely poorly thought out, and it's creating havoc in our country. Dwight, I don't understand. Do you see what is going on in this country, Dwight? Do you understand the pain that is being created deliberately, directly, as a result of the government's policies, Dwight? Do you understand what is happening, Dwight? Because I don't hear the outcry. We need to do better. We need to hold this government to account, and we need to ensure that they do better on behalf of the Bahamian people, because all we are experiencing is suffering upon suffering upon suffering, and we do not see any end in sight. These people don't know what they're doing in our cabinet, and they don't know what they're doing in our government, and they got to go. Thank you.
Okay. All right, man, Tom. Let's read some of your text messages before we take a break. Quite a few coming in this morning. This is not related to what we've been talking about at all. But anyway, who's in charge of the environment and how to get them fired because the island is filthy? Okay. Dwight, I'm ashamed of you. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. F&M, PLP, and DNA are all guilty. Dwight, are you saying that your chances of getting a blood clot as a result of taking the AstraZeneca vaccine is slightly lower than your chance of catching COVID-19? That's not what I said, but does that math compute there? It would seem so, wouldn't it? No? Okay. Because what percentage do we have of people who got COVID in the country? About 2%? Right? Is it 2%? Almost. So then, yes. Yes. All right. Preacher Dwight. Whoa. COVID will kill less than 1% of us, but I will soon die from job loss, hunger, no home, and sadness. Another one. Some of us have been following the science of this vaccine, and are aware of the blood clots weeks ago. However, a small risk was never acknowledged until the Europeans decided to do so. No, that's not true. People have been saying that for a little while.
Right.
It's as if it has to be to the point where it can no longer be denied for proponents to admit that there's risk. That's not true. People were saying that from the beginning. This vaccine has been challenged more than any other.
That I'm aware of.
Yeah. For countries who stopped using it for a while and then got more information and resumed using it.
Every time there was a country who made a decision to wait to not use it, it was in the media.
Yep, absolutely. The risks for people over 65 and now the risk for people under 30, this has been reported widely. So I don't know if you just started to listen now. But anyway, there are some of us capable of following the science without the so-called scientists telling us what to. Okay, well, that's good for you. I'm happy for you. What's your point? You are brilliant, and I'm very proud of you. Great. Okay. I cry shame on the leader of the opposition, PLP, for campaigning during this pandemic. He wants people to take him seriously in his quest to lead the nation and can't even abide by protocol. Well, what about the prime minister? The prime minister is doing the same thing.
That's all the political parties that are campaigning now in New Providence.
Everybody.
That's all of them. It isn't just the opposition. It's not just yellow shirts we're seeing out there. We're seeing red shirts too.
Oh, yeah. And green.
And green.
And green.
So,
This text here, though I concur with Ms. Gardner's comments on the reluctance in regards to taking the vaccine, the risk of blood clots due to the vaccine is less than the risk of due to birth control, which is what I said earlier, yes. A wave is constituted by the rise in cases through mass community spread or the spread in multiple facets of the community, i.e. schools, job sites, health facilities, etc. Okay. Another one. My concern would be, what are the symptoms of having a blood clot? And what are the protocols of treating the blood clot? Okay, really? You know. And just Google it. You'll see. Okay. Another one. I hope that the competent authority appreciates the challenges that he is creating by, on the one hand, continuing with the emergency orders, and on the other hand, openly ignoring them. It may not be as easy to enforce more stringent measures should the need arise if he continues to amplify the disparities that exist between certain groups of people in our country. The do as I say versus what I do mentality simply will not be accepted, sir. Yeah, and you need to tell him every time you see him.
Exactly.
And tell all of his representatives that too. And don't join them wearing the silly shirts and shaking your pom-poms in the streets. Practice what you preach. Everybody. This one says, just trying to get an understanding of what's going on. Our tourist neighbors in the U.S., Canada, and Europe are all going back on lockdown. However, the tourism minister says the industry is recovering.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's why I was saying you don't really want to announce you're in a wave. You're experiencing a wave. If you're saying, hey, it's okay. We kind of are getting a handle on this and we're opening up and come here, so you don't want to put out there that you're experiencing another wave.
Now, I don't know about lockdowns in the U.S., but they're opening up and reducing mask mandates and stuff. And they're trying to get back.
I know that they've made some lockdowns and adjustments in Canada, specifically in London. They've gone back into red. So because they have had an outbreak, spike in cases.
Yeah, Canada and Europe, definitely. Another one here. So let's say that the Ministry of Health says that there is a wave. What happens? A lockdown? Most don't want that. We seem to want them to say there is a wave. And then what? It's still about being responsible, people being responsible. Yeah, that is true.
I just think that the caller meant, let us be clear on what is considered a wave and what isn't, more than anything else.
Right.
Because
there's been arbitrary use of these words, right?
Right.
When it suits you, you say it, and
right. And I think that was more the point than anything. Not that you want them to come out and say it and then lock you down, but just what are the rules? What constitute a wave? What doesn't constitute a wave?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the point that the caller was trying to make.
Yeah. These spikes can't be from travel because you need a negative test on arrival. Also, it's not reflected on the report. I recall only seeing about 4 in total. They need to explain travel. And they also need to explain imported, right? But remember a few weeks back, they were saying that some people weren't following up with the 5-day test.
Right.
I don't know if that's improved. So perhaps that's how. That's how some people aren't going back. So there's a lot of little slipping through the cracks. A lot of that can happen. A few more text messages here. Someone says, there are lots of people who live on mainland Eleuthera but work at hotels on busy Harbor Island and go back and forth daily. Do they have to pay for a test each day? That's what it says.
Mm.
This one, yeah, that's a lot. This one says, traveling is not a necessity during normal times. Stay home. The test is not necessary unless you're traveling. People do not have to travel. We're being emotional. Well, again, texter.
Again,
did you hear
there
the
are
previous
some
text?
people who do have to travel
for work.
Okay, there are some people that don't. They maybe just want to get off the island. I'm not speaking about them. I am talking about people who are in Grand Bahama who have to go for treatment for cancer-related issues to Nassau. These people have to travel. Are we saying they should just stay home? Sometimes we got to be careful how we speak from our point of privilege. There are people out there who have to travel for health reasons. They have to. And the cost of them having to travel, the cost of them having to take a COVID test every single time is not right, is not fair.
Yeah.
We're not talking about people who just feel like they need a weekend getaway.
Absolutely.
There are people who they don't want to, but necessity dictates that they have to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to travel maybe once a week.
Well, here's another text. I live in Canada. The PCR test is free, but if you want your results within 15 minutes, the cost is about $180 from a company. Okay, that's interesting. So what's the regular time? How long does it take you to get the results?
Right.
Okay. Testing should be free, but in countries like this, it'll never happen. It's all about the money. That's so sad. That's really sad. Another one, DeWitt is right. My cousin from Abaco and her boyfriend came to Freeport on their own boat because they did not have the money for testing. Oh, dear. So they smuggled themselves in.
Right.
Another one. Do people realize that it's not the government that sets the price for the test? I also say shame, I guess, on the people in Eleuthera for smuggling the people and spreading the virus. If the government wanted to, they could, I'm sure, do something about the test. They could do something. They really could. Can you...
Honestly, why is it so high? Why does it have to be that high? I can even wrap my mind around if you say, much like the texter said, if you take the test and let's say the standard time is 3 days, that's free. But if you want us to rush this because you need whatever, then you pay a fee, if you want it express. But this $100, almost $200.
Yeah. And what accounted for the price drop? I remember when I took my test, that was in the middle of last year, it was $200 and something. Within a couple weeks, the price dropped to $120. So what accounted for that? What changed? How did it become more affordable? And maybe there could be another $100 price drop.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we never got an explanation. Why did the price drop? Okay. This one says, Dwight, the people are attacking you because when the health people take this vaccine, you question nothing and say, just take it. Now the same people are saying something different and you say, just take it, take the evil vaccine, no matter the health concerns. I don't understand any part of your text, but again, you don't have to take the vaccine. You don't have to take the vaccine. We've established that, I thought.
It's still optional.
And as we go to the break, I love that they are campaigning because it means we will never have any more stupid lockdowns. Yeah? That's what you think. Okay. And another one, remember they do include the rapid testing in the numbers, so we, Joe Public, don't have a clear picture. I think you mean they don't, hey? Don't have a clear picture of the numbers. They don't include the rapid. Yeah. Oh, boy. It's a lot. That's a lot. Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, it is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and we are going to have an in-depth discussion as we go through the legislation of the Child Protection Act. What is allowed, what isn't allowed. We've got different perspectives on this. You don't want to miss that. You're going to be surprised by some of the things in the act. This is Morning Blend on Guardian Radio. Stay with us.
Say what you need to say. 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 Say what you need to say.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Coronavirus update. I'm Rita Foley with an AP News Minute. We're seeing an increase in COVID cases, and that's being linked to a variant of the virus. Our Ed Donahue has this.
The variant was first identified in Britain.
The B117 variant is now the most common.
This is AP News. I'm Rita Foley. The White House says we've got a public health epidemic, gun violence. And today, President Biden will announce what he's doing to try to make things better. AP correspondent Jackie Quinn.
The president's planning to use executive actions to require background checks for buyers of homemade ghost guns and require registration and taxation for pistol stabilizing braces, like the one that was used by the alleged Boulder gunman last month.
The gunman in that mass shooting killed 10 people. 5 people shot dead in Rock Hill, South Carolina last night. A prominent doctor, his wife, their grandchildren, and a man working in their home. Police say they found the suspect hours later in a nearby home. There's been an explosion and fire at a manufacturing plant in Columbus, Ohio. 8 people injured, 1 person missing. No word yet on what caused that explosion. Derek Chauvin's murder trial resumes today in Minneapolis after more testimony yesterday from a police expert on use of force. Jody Steiger, a Los Angeles Police Department sergeant, testified that Officer Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck area the entire time Floyd was on the ground. Chauvin's lawyer Eric Nelson questioned Sergeant Steiger about police policy.
The reasonableness of a particular use of force must be judged from the perspective of the reasonable officer, correct?
Correct.
On the scene, correct?
Correct.
Rather than with the 20/20 vision of hindsight, right?
Right.
The trial's on Court TV. 3 reports alleging abuse and neglect at a facility in San Antonio holding more than 1,600 immigrant teenagers. Republican Governor Greg Abbott blames President Biden.
The Biden administration must immediately shut down this facility.
This is AP News. The number of COVID cases is rising, and it's being linked to a variant of the virus. The AP's Ed Donahue has this.
The variant was first identified in Britain.
The B117 variant is now the most common lineage circulating in the United States.
CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says this variant has a different demographic.
Across the country, we are hearing reports of clusters of cases associated with daycare centers and youth sports. Hospitals are seeing more and more younger adults, those in their 30s and 40s.
Walensky is encouraging areas with rising case numbers to limit or suspend youth sports. She says people need to take individual responsibility to get vaccinated when they can. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Nearly half of the new COVID infections nationwide are in just 5 states: New York, Michigan, Florida, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey. That's according to Johns Hopkins University. I'm Rita Foley, AP News.
We've got your first look at traffic for this morning, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. In your real-time traffic, Smart Butler Highway, seeing some heavy traffic in the northbound lanes, heading towards Tawny Williams Darling Highway and the roundabout there. Glaston Road looking a little bit better for you, but still heavy traffic as you get closer in the northbound lane to John F. Kennedy Drive. Elsewhere, Blue Hill Road, northbound, just north of Soldier Road, you're seeing that usual traffic there in the northbound lanes as you approach the Independence Drive roundabout. And further south on Blue Hill, the closer you get to Carmichael Road, you'll be seeing some more congestion there. And Carmichael eastbound, heading towards Blue Hill Road, busy at this hour. Elsewhere, pockets along Soldier Road, especially Soldier and East Street, the intersection there, and Soldier and Windsor Place. And then pockets along Prince Charles Drive, the major intersections along Prince Charles Drive. And Robinson Road, Robinson and Marathon and East-West Highway, and Robinson and East Street. Those are your hot spots for now. We'll have another report for you just after the 8 o'clock news. Morning Blend Traffic Alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. And time for another check of the weather for today, brought to you by Rev Cable Bahamas. We've got high pressure centered north of the area that will continue to dominate the weather across the country. For all areas today, look for variably cloudy and warm conditions with a chance of an isolated shower or two through tonight. Temperature-wise, we're at about 67 right now in Nassau. Look for highs getting up to around 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down to about 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will continue to dominate the weather over the islands for the weekend. So for Friday, look for partly sunny and warm conditions with a slight chance of a passing shower or two, becoming fair and cool at night, breezy in the southeast Bahamas. For Saturday, partly sunny, warm, and breezy with a slight chance of a passing shower or two, becoming fair and cool at night. That's your morning blend weather check. Weather check brought to you by Rev. Basketball fans, sign up or upgrade to Rev Trio and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free. Call 601-8992 or email trio@cablebahamas.com to sign up. Rev, you and us together.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best. Believe in best.
Basketball is back, baby, and so is NBA League Pass, only with Rev Trio. Sign up for Rev Trio today and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free, along with incredible prizes, including a brand new 50-inch smart TV, NBA gear, and more. With tons of prizes and gear, signing up for Trio is the best on- and off-court move this year. Just call 601-8992 or visit www.rev.bs/promotions/trio. Sign up for Rev Trio today and enjoy NBA League Pass absolutely free.
The best place to get a new iPhone is at BTC. Make the iPhone 12 mini yours for just $199. That's big savings to go with our sweet postpaid value of unlimited local calls, internet international minutes, roaming data and minutes, plus all the data you need. Stream, share, and stay connected on the best LTE network when you switch to BTC. Visit a store to sign up today and get the iPhone 12 mini for just $199. Conditions apply.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Lasagna Mizik, Managing Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduce risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Gran, it was good to see you, but we've got to get home.
Yep, we've got to let the dog out.
Speaking of dogs, you won't believe who I saw the other day. Who?
Honey.
Remember Anton, Jeanette's oldest boy, the one with the dogs?
With local claims managers, we pay your motor claims fast. We're like a goodbye at your granny's that doesn't take 30 minutes.
We really got to get going.
So soon?
CG Atlantic Agents. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
There's only one way to have a better morning. How? Start your mornings the best way with our 2 for $6 breakfast sandwiches at Wendy's. For a limited time, choose any 2 of your favorite breakfast sandwiches, including the fresh Strachan sack muffin, honey buttermilk chicken biscuit, double sausage muffin, or the sausage egg and cheese biscuit. Wash it all down with our cold brew shake or coffee. Better mornings always start at Wendy's. Wendy's, different inside and out. Excludes airport locations.
Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Street, has those hard-to-find fasteners for you right now. You can find stainless steel regular hex, carriage bolts, galvanized bolts, threaded rods, nails, self-tap screws, sex bolts, anchor bolts, turnbuckles, masonry tools, hand tools, and weed whacker strings. Check out the rope selection and car body fasteners, too. Special orders are welcome. It's your #1 fastener store. Screws and Fasteners World, Balfour Avenue and Palm Beach Streets. Call 326-1976.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone who fulfilled my needs. A lonely place to.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. As we said, April, Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we're going to take a deeper look at the Child Protection Act from many different angles. This morning we are going to look at it from the legal perspective, but also from one activist's concerns about the legislation and that it should go further. Very pleased to have with us in studio Cleaver Duncombe with Bahamian Fathers for Children Everywhere, who's been an activist for many years in this regard. And we've got our resident attorney, Darrell Taylor, with us this morning on Zoom. Good morning, Darrell. Great to have you with us.
Good morning, Dwight. It's great to be here.
And Cleaver, as it's been a while.
Good morning, Bahamas.
All right. So, Cleaver, let's begin with you, though, about this bill, this act, this legislation, and then we'll get into some of the legal parameters of it. But let's talk about it and your overall assessment of the Child Protection Act.
Dwight, I'm happy that the bill, we were able to, through our organization, we were able to get the legislation passed, But when you look at it, Dwight, in its present state, it is not gender neutral. It has no ombudsman. It has no regulations. And it's basically flawed in so many different ways. And when I looked at it and in the preliminary stages, I said that, look, We all concluded that this would take the Bahamas 50 years backwards, and that was in 2006 when it was initially passed, sent back to the Senate for adjustment, and then it was reintroduced in the House of Assembly again, and it was passed again. But that's, I don't know what all that was all about. But, initially when the bill, the first draft first came out, it's like they cut the baby in half, because it was really the Family and Child Protection Act. That's basically what it really was supposed to have been. But for whatever reason, I don't know who did which government would have cut the baby in half and just want to focus on children as respect to the holistic approach of what I was really advocating for. You understand? And when you look at the issue of, you said you want to get into the legal ramification a bit later, but in its present state, and maybe this could be the reason why I was alienated, but I said that I wouldn't really use it in its present state to protect dogs in the Bahamas.
Oh,
and
dear.
That's basically what it is. I would prefer to borrow the legislation that the U.S. used to protect dogs, and children would get a better protection, with that particular piece of legislation. And I say that unequivocally,
Okay. Durrell Taylor, your quick assessment, what do you make of the legislation?
Well, I wouldn't go as far as Mr. Duncan did, but I think it is a step in the right direction. Any step forward, in my humble opinion, is a step in the right direction. What I've seen of the Child Protection Act is that there is advancement in it in terms of how it deals with children in so many different facets in our society. Of course, it can always be improved upon. It can always be better. That's the thing with legislation generally. You start off at a specific point and you build. And so activists such as Mr. Duncan and other persons can point out, as he is pointing out now, look, these are the things that is flawed about this particular piece of legislation. See, the thing with dealing with children is that it is so widespread. You can't put everything in one place.
Right.
I mean, if you look at it, there are several key pieces of legislation that deal with children. It isn't just the Child Protection Act.
Okay,
You
so we're
also
going to
have
get...
the Status of Children Act.
Yes, so we're going to...
I mean, you look at, so there are different facets, but I mean, I agree with him to the extent that there is so much more to be improved upon in the act itself.
All right, we're going to look into it deep after the news, because we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Be they a party, be they a gathering of family, we have to continue to follow the public health measures.
McMillan's statement came after repeated questioning from reporters about political events occurring, whether they be walkabouts, meetings, or even constituency headquarter openings. During a time when families are limited to 40 for a funeral, McMillan was pressed on the position taken by the Ministry of Health. And while she tried to shy away from giving a position and said political activity was not being monitored, she did say this.
I think in what I just, the address I just made, I made it very clear. Those types of gatherings should not be occurring. And certainly individuals have, a responsibility to protect themselves. And certainly our recommendations remain the same. There should not be gatherings that are above and beyond what, has been agreed upon in the emergency orders, as well as, you need to wear your mask.
And in the emergency orders, all social gatherings on New Providence, Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma are prohibited. Health officials continue to monitor an increase in COVID-19 cases, particularly in New Providence, where there are 117 active cases, and Grand Bahama, where there are 102.
146 new cases were reported for last week, which was Epi Week 13. Though this appears to be a reduction from the week prior, it should be noted that last week coincided with Easter, when many of the testing centers either closed or had reduced operating hours, and/or
there are 240 active cases in country, with 3 in intensive care at Doctors Hospital. Over 10,000 people have been vaccinated in country thus far.
The Ministry of Health is aware that some Bahamians may have obtained their COVID-19 vaccine in the United States. The Ministry of Health requests that persons who have obtained the vaccine from outside of the Bahamas relay that information to us soonest.
And now the priority list for COVID-19 vaccinations in country has been adjusted. That list now includes teachers and staff of schools, hospitality workers, students and athletes studying or competing abroad, and the homebound physically disabled. There are also more vaccination centers, including Loyola Hall, Church of God of Prophecy East Street, Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium, as well as Atlantis and Bahamar. But with concern growing once again about the potential of blood clots as a risk associated with the AstraZeneca vaccine, health officials once again saying the benefits far outweigh the risks.
Actually, the chance of getting the blood clot is way less than 0.1%. It's about 0.0065%. And so it's an extremely rare side effect that's possible. And scientists are not really quite clear on what exactly could be causing that at this time. So the overall position is that the benefits for this vaccine do still outweigh the risk of this vaccine.
What health officials also addressed were reports of an overweight man dying on the island of Bimini because he could not fit in the isopod for airlift. We now know that there is a weight restriction of 270 pounds, but that health officials seek to find a way around it.
It's clear that we have to seek to determine the best way for us to be in a better position to manage persons beyond the weight limit of the pods. And certainly all efforts are being put forward to determine exactly how we will do that in the shortest time to prevent us from being in that position again.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, the Bahama Resort is offering its employees from directors on down half a day's base pay once they provide adequate proof that they have received both doses of the COVID vaccine. The company told staff it believes business levels will certainly increase if they can advertise to guests that the resort's team is fully vaccinated. Bahamar, like the Atlantis Resort, will start offering vaccinations to its workers on property, specifically at the Grand Hyatt Convention Center for Bahamar workers beginning this Friday through April 15th. It's all part of Bahamar's effort to be labeled one of the safest resort destinations in the industry. A PAHO representative is advising countries to proceed with caution when it comes to welcoming the return of cruise ships. Jasmine Brown has that.
With countries in the region, including the Bahamas, expected to welcome cruise ships back to their shores in a matter of months, PAHO Director of Health Emergencies, Dr. Cyril Ugarte, says they must proceed with caution.
It is imperative, though, to act with caution. Why? Because the transmission that was seen at the beginning of the pandemic in cruise ships, and also last summer when several countries in Europe and also in the Americas attempted to reopen the cruise ship industry and access to their ports, also showed an increase of number of cases, although at small scale.
Dr. Ugarte said PAHO is well aware of how vital cruise ship tourism is to countries like the Bahamas. However, he insisted that doesn't mean anyone should let their guards down.
Even though the tourism industry and the cruise ships are implementing prevention and other measures in order to reduce the transmissibility, according to the current situation and the spread of the virus in all the regions, and particularly in the Americas, it is imperative that each of the countries do a proper analysis of the situation and also look at where is the origin of the passengers and others.
In the House of Assembly last month, Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar said cruise lines have shown increased interest in the Bahamas as berth requests for the last 6 months of 2021 rose by 20% when compared to the same time period in 2019. Crystal Cruises is the first cruise company to announce it will set sail to the Bahamas beginning July 3rd. The Bahamas will be a home port for Crystal Cruises, and other major cruise lines have announced they plan on following suit. The cruise industry came to a halt last March as the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention enforced a no-sail order, with many companies voluntarily suspending sailings due to the COVID-19 pandemic. As it relates to the latest CDC guidelines, Dr. Ugarte said this.
It's important also to highlight that the U.S. has released a new CDC U.S. has released a new guideline and recommendations on the 2nd of April, but still there is no date just set for reopening the cruise ship in the Americas at least.
There were 5.4 million cruise visitors to the Bahamas in 2019. Reporting for Guardian News Network, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, some good news for a group of asylum seekers who, after 2 years in custody, were released from the Carmichael Road Detention Center yesterday and moved to a safe house. They spoke to our Berthany McDermott about their experience.
The 2 women, 5 men, and 3-year-old girl emerged from the Carmichael Road Detention Center after 1 p.m. Wednesday. Speaking with reporters waiting on the outside, they described their detainment as unjustifiable, adding it was disappointing and distressing.
It's traumatic. I really can't tell much. I would say it's shocking. I really didn't believe that in a country like the Bahamas, you could experience so much cruelty. It was a systematic cruelty, abuse of all sorts. I don't know if I should consider the Bahamas a Western country or what. I really don't know. To be honest, I really don't know how to consider it anymore. Because before I was coming to the Bahamas, I thought it was really, really civilized. But the kind of brutality and hostility that we've received in this Carmichael Detention Center only tells me that I find myself somewhere around Saudi Arabia or maybe somewhere, I don't know.
The asylum seekers explained that they fled their home countries of southern Cameroon and Biafra, Nigeria, for their safety. A writ filed by Calendars & Co. on January 20th claims the plaintiffs fled their countries due to well-founded fear of persecution by reasons of their race and or ethnicity and or religion, their Anglophone, social and political ties, and or their membership of political parties. That writ claimed that the plaintiffs have been wrongly detained, falsely imprisoned, and deprived of their personal liberty. In December 2020, Immigration Minister Ellsworth Johnson defended food served at the detention center, calling it one of the best eateries that provide food for detainees.
That even the Minister of Immigration, Ellsworth Johnson, claimed that there's good eateries or something. I don't know, I can't quote her exactly. That's unfortunate. It brings question to her understanding of the various dimensions or the different dimensions of or the spiritual dimension of a human person.
What's worse, they added, the mother was separated from her young child. They say they had no official word on where she was taken.
Well, nobody knew where the baby was because we had flying information. We did not have official information was never given to us where the baby was. We just had flying information from the detention center from whatever officer, and people were just gossip. It was gossip. So we heard that she was at college social services because the safe house had a problem.
The first day that I took her, you could see the baby. Even the officers that were on duty with me that day, they saw that the baby wasn't really taken care of. Because she's a very chubby baby, but right now very slim hair. Her hair was already locked in. And the way we've been taking care of my baby.
Insert. After being separated for nearly a year, the mother and child were reunited last week in what they described as a brutal manner. They also say they had little opportunity to communicate with their families at home.
The reports will be releasing, or I hope to release, I think should be a feedback for the government to check the bureaucracy of the immigration department. The kind of officials that are being employed, their language, everything about them has to be checked. It's for them to minimize basic human rights, very basic. I think it's unfortunate. It's an apology.
The group is seeking refugee status, which will be determined by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in collaboration with the Bahamas government. During a hearing before Justice Bernard Turner Wednesday morning, government advised that the asylum seekers were prepared to be released as of 7 a.m. and others would be ready for release by the end of the day. The matter was adjourned to Thursday morning for a mention hearing to confirm that all individuals have been set free. Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Stay with us, there's more news after the break.
Jada, jump in the car. Hey girl, your new ride looking good. Y'all, it was rough. No one wanted to insure me as a new driver, and cause I young. Thank goodness Jason told me about Shield Insurance right there across from the police college on Thompson Boulevard. Shield hooked me up with one solid policy at a decent price, minus the shade. Them other companies was joking.
Well, I'm glad you get straight. Call Shield Insurance in Nassau or Freeport. They've got you covered.
Shield Insurance Agents and Brokers.
At Apex Award Signs and Engraving, the name says it all. the country's trusted name for trophies, plaques, corporate seals, rubber stamps, badges, bumper stickers, traffic and street signs, keychains, t-shirts, interior signs, restaurant menus, and so much more. Apex Awards Signs and Engraving, number 128 Mount Royal Avenue in Wilton Street. Open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and 9 to 1 on Saturdays. Visit the website at apexawardsbahamas.com. Apex Awards Signs and Engraving, number 1 in the Bahamas.
Been up by Pender the other day and I meet one whale hook hanging by the front door. I say, what it is, Ahab? What's with the hook? Pender say, Lampkin, I ain't taking no chances. I hear the ministry say we got to be careful of the corona spike. He only got to tell me once. I want to see him come in here. I'll show him what spike look like. I say, oh, okay. I thought you was trying to hook people with your great selection of granite, marble, porcelain, and ceramic. He said, that ain't bad, Lampkin. I tell you, you continues to surprise me. Pender Tile on Prince Charles Drive. We sells tile.
Spring to Super Value and Quality Supermarkets for specials like Best Value Corn, 15-ounce can, 85 cents. Kellogg's Family Size Cereal, 19-ounce to 24-ounce, $4.99. Boneless chuck steak or roast, $5.99 per pound. Hellmann's Mayonnaise, 30-ounce jar, $4.99. Smoked picnic hams, $1.69 per pound. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Double stamps on Sundays at Super Value and Quality Supermarkets.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
Cancer is smart. It pushes us. We push back. Challenging conventional thinking. Finding smarter solutions. That's what makes Cancer Treatment Centers of America one of the leaders in precision cancer treatment. Using tools like advanced genomic testing and immunotherapy to bring more options to our patients. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. We're not just fighting cancer anymore. We're outsmarting it. Visit cancercenter.com/outsmart to learn more.
Buying a home is one of the most important investment decisions you'll ever make. So it's best to insure your home for the full replacement value. If your home is underinsured, the condition of average could apply and reduce the amount you'll receive if you make a claim. Ask your insurance agent about underinsurance and condition of average before you purchase or renew your home insurance policy. For more information, visit www.icb.gov.bs. This message was brought to you by the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas.
Welcome back. The Christian Council president says that political gatherings held despite COVID-19 regulations are a double standard. Georgia Payne reports.
Despite calls to simmer down political campaigning over the Easter weekend, some constituencies were still bustling with political activities such as office openings, meet and greets, and Easter basket giveaways. Bahamas Christian Council President Bishop Delton Fernando calling the recent events of all political parties a double standard, as church services, funerals, and weddings remain under tight restriction.
So how is it good for politicians to come to the country and say, we can be in the same area once we're wearing the same mask, but yet for a funeral, you're trying to point out that all of us are wearing masks, all of us are social distance, and we're in that space, a much bigger space than the politicians, but yet that is wrong and this is right. And it's a double standard.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis has defended recent political events and said while the number of party supporters were large, they followed protocols and wore masks. PLP leader Philip Davis also insisted that party members have been adhering to protocols while campaigning. According to Fernando, it's going to be harder to get the public to buy into sticking to the COVID protocols when the rules differ for certain groups.
You're going to lose the victory if you know, as a parent, you start saying one thing and doing something else. It becomes difficult to convince the masses that this is what we need to do when those who are telling us this are 50 deep.
Fernando also defended the church against claims that officials are being dictated to. Reporting for Guardian Radio News, I'm Georgia Bain.
That's going to do it for local news. Stay with us. AP News is next.
I bank wherever I want thanks to Scotia Online and Mobile. I bank from my garden. I bank from my living room. I also bank from my kitchen. No need to wait in line. Now, when I bank with Scotia, I bank on my own time. Seniors, you too can bank your way any time of day without ever going into a branch. Find out more. To get started, visit bs.scotiabank.com/digital seniors.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Gran, it was good to see you, but we've got to get home.
Yep, we've got to let the dog out.
Speaking of dogs, you won't believe who I saw the other day. Who?
Honey.
Remember Anton, Jeanette's oldest boy, the one with the dogs?
With local claims managers, we pay your motor claims fast. We're like a goodbye at your granny's that doesn't take 30 minutes.
We really got to get going.
So soon?
CG Atlantic Agents. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
Introducing the new Slices and Sticks from Little Caesars, an unexpected combination. 4 slices of pepperoni pizza, 8 Italian cheese sticks, and 1 crazy sauce, only for $9. Didn't expect that one, right? Grab the new Slices and Sticks at Little Caesars Oaksfield, Carmichael Road, or East Street South in the Pineapple Plaza. That's 4 slices of pepperoni pizza, 8 Italian cheese sticks, and 1 crazy sauce, all for only $9. And only at Little Caesars.
Pizza. At Master Technicians, we have what your family traditions need, starting with industry-best refrigerators, ranges, and ovens. We also carry Whirlpool washer and dryers, dishwashers and freezers, leading KitchenAid countertop appliances, blenders, microwaves, juicers, kettles, and KitchenAid stand mixers. We even do free delivery in New Providence or to the boat of your choice. Whether you're doing the laundry, creating new memories in the kitchen, or spending family time in front of the television, Master Technicians Limited, keeping family traditions alive for more than 50 years.
Reggie gone to Sunrise one day and tell Miss Wallace, I need a band for my watch, please. Miss Wallace say, Reginald, do have a seat and we'll be with you in a minute. He say, well, you just suffer from this too. She say, suffer from what? He say, this. She say, oh, that. Well, I tries to tailor make my services them to fit the needs of all of my customers. Reggie get excited. He say, that's amazing. I get a couple of more watches. I can bring them to you to more. She say, more. He say, yeah. She say, Reggie, I'll be here from 9 o'clock in the morning.
Sun Isles Watch and Clock, number 112 Montrose Avenue. Watch and clock sales and repairs for over 40 years.
While 100,000 Bahamians need food assistance and thousands are out of work due to COVID, the government hired an expensive British QC, making thousands of dollars an hour, to fight against their own people and defend foreigners trying to get rich off our soil. We get jammed twice. Which politicians are benefiting from the BPC oil deal? Sign the petition today at StopBahamasOilDrilling.com. #NoDrillNoSpill.
Business travel just got easier with the Alive Corporate Business Plan. Check your messages, check on the staff, or simply keep your emails in check. When traveling on business, you'll have the confidence in managing your office, staying in touch with your team, vendors, and customers. You can roam like you've never left your office with the all-new suite of Alive Liberty Executive Plans. For more information, contact the experts at Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Call 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Islands today.
I bank wherever I want thanks to Scotia Online and Mobile. I bank from my garden. I bank from my living room. I also bank from my kitchen. No need to wait in line. Now when I bank with Scotia, I bank on my own time. Seniors, you too can bank your way any time of day without ever going into a branch. Find out more. To get started, visit bs.scotiabank.com/digital seniors.
This traffic report.
Welcome back to Morning Blend here on Guardian Radio 96.9. We are streaming live on GuardianTalkRadio.com and on the Guardian Radio app for smart devices. We're also on your televisions on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and BTC Float Channel 612. You can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or Facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. And now at 8:23, time for another check of your weather for today, brought to you by Bahamas First Insurance. Here's what's happening. We've got a high pressure center north of the area that will continue to dominate the weather across the country. For all areas today, your forecast calls for variably cloudy and warm conditions with a slight chance of an isolated shower or two through tonight. Temperature-wise, look for highs getting up to around 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. Overnight lows tonight getting down about 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will continue to dominate the weather over the islands into the weekend. So for tomorrow, Friday, we're looking at partly sunny and warm conditions with a slight chance of a passing shower or two, becoming fair and mild at night, breezy in the southeast Bahamas. Saturday, partly sunny and warm and breezy with a slight chance of a passing shower or two, becoming fair and cool at night. That's your Morning Blend weather check brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us. And we've got another check of your traffic for today, brought to you by RBC Royal Bank. Your real-time traffic, Smile Butler Highway is your hotspot this morning, as usual. We've got heavy traffic northbound, but not as bad as we've seen at other times. So north of Fire Trail, but the closer you get to Tonic Williams-Darling Highway in the northbound lanes, you'll be seeing that heavy congestion there. Glass Road looking like a much better alternate route for you this morning. Only when you get to JFK Drive will you see the traffic building there in the northbound lane. Blue Hill Road northbound also seeing heavy traffic north of Soldier Road as you get closer to Independence Drive, and Carmichael Road eastbound to Blue Hill Road will be seeing some more congestion there as well. Otherwise, just pockets at major intersections and junctions like Soldier Road and Windsor Place, and along Prince Charles Drive in the major intersections, and Robinson Road. And so otherwise, a smooth commute for you relatively this morning. That's your Morning Blend traffic alert brought to you by RBC Royal Bank.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone.
And we are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. We are talking about the Child Protection Act in the Bahamas, as this is National Child Abuse Prevention Month here and many countries around the globe. We are talking with activist Cleaver Duncan with Bahamian Fathers for Children Everywhere and attorney Darrell Taylor this morning. All right, Darrell, I cut you off before as we had to go to the break, but allow you to finish your point there on your overall assessment on the Child Protection Act before we start to get into any specifics about the legislation.
Well, as I said earlier, Dwight, I believe that it is a step in the right direction. It could be improved upon. That is a fact. However, I think that it is a very good starting point, because what it did, it pulled legislation related to children and placed it in one piece of legislation. That is what they attempted to do. They borrowed from different, because some of these provisions were elsewhere. So like you look at provisions related to the criminal responsibility of children, the age at which children could be held criminally responsible for their actions. It's there. The maintenance orders that we perhaps had in the Matrimonial Causes Act, as well as the old Affiliation Proceedings Act that dealt with maintenance for children in the Magistrates Court in particular. But why I defend it is because there are certain aspects of it, Dwight, that I find to be, an advancement. So, for example, if you look at Section 100, subsection 3, it talks about allowing hearsay evidence in family proceedings, despite or regardless of whether or not it's notwithstanding any other rule of law. That's what it says, any law in the Bahamas. That is monumental for an attorney. It's monumental for persons giving evidence because now, let me just go back. In the Evidence Act, the rules of hearsay is very strict. The general rule is that hearsay evidence is not admissible at all in court. That's just a general rule. Then you have a list of exceptions where the court allows it. But here you have in the Child Protection Act, Section 100, subsection 3, it says that hearsay evidence is permitted in family proceedings. That is monumental. It means now that the sitting tribunal, the judge, the magistrate can hear all facets, all aspects of it. Let me hear what the neighbor had to say, the grandmother, the aunt, the uncle, the father, the judge, father, or whomever. Let me hear that hearsay evidence so I can make a decision that's in the best interest of the child. So there are aspects of it, I could say, that does need improvement, but there are some things there that, in my humble opinion, is an advancement. That's why I say, it's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there are so many parts, and this is why we're going to do this over 2 days. So we've got at least, 12, 13, 14 different parts to this. It's quite an expensive bit of legislation there. But we're going to go through it in 2 parts, as we said. So we're looking at rights of the child, legal capacity and guardianship of children, custody, family maintenance. I know Cleaver has a lot to say about that part there. And proceedings to enforce the right to maintenance. That should take us to the end of the show today, and then we'll get into the other parts tomorrow. So, Darrell, let's start with that, and Cleaver, you can jump in with your concerns and issues there. But by defining the rights of the child, let's talk about that and how this might have differed from where we were before. And Cleaver, you can say if you feel that this doesn't go far enough as well.
Well, basically what I want to say, Dwight, is that, look, let's look at it. When we look at what we replaced what you would call the Affiliations and Proceedings Act 119. That is what we replaced. But I want to humbly submit, or emphatically, to Madam Attorney, that when you compare what we sign on to internationally versus what we have here now, I want to humbly admit that this particular act is not higher standard. That's what we committed to. We committed that once we apply the rights of the child, certain articles, and the Bahamas had a right, Dwight. The Bahamas could have done basically what they did in Article 2 of the Geneva Convention. That's what I'm telling you. We have to make some comparison here so we can get a better appreciation of where we are and what we're really trying to accomplish. In Article 2 of the Geneva Convention, it speaks to non-discrimination, where the Bahamas, before they became a signatory to it and ratified it, they wanted some reservations on Article 2. So if you're going to, why didn't they ask for a reservation of all of them? So it means then that internationally, all of the other articles that they were proposed to put into local law or legislation relative to what we sign on to internationally, they agreed to. They wanted to do that. So when Madam Attorneys now say that, it's a step in the right direction, we're being duplicitous here. You see what I'm saying? For example, when you talked about the maintenance aspect of it, right? But before you can get to maintenance, you have to talk about parental responsibility. That is key. See, if you cannot start on all of those things she spoke about persons having to report these various cases. Stuff. That's good stuff, But when you start off wrong, it leaves reason for having to do all of these things that Madam Attorney is speaking about here. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, in the issue of parenting, Article 6.1, which I have some serious problems with, Article 6.1 states that parents would have parental responsibility, but in the case of the child born out of wedlock, the father would now have to satisfy Article 14.2 of the in the Child Protection Act, which speaks to the issue of maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, let's get Darrell to go through the legal wording of it, and then we can break it down. So that's a good place to start. Parental responsibility, Darrell. 6.1, that's in part 1.
Okay, you want section 6.1. Every parent shall have parental responsibility for his or her child, excuse me, but a court may, if it deems just, disregard any right arising thereof from, unless that parent has addressed the criteria referred in section 14.2. I want to say two things quickly, Dwight. Mr. Duncan, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is that, and as a matter of fact, I agree with you on certain aspects of what you're saying, but I can't say that this legislation here, I think you mentioned earlier about it being not fit for a dog or something like that. I don't accept that.
I'm speaking. I'm only speaking, madam. I'm only speaking to the issue of the way we address the issue of parenting and the issue of maintenance. If you start off wrong, you're going to leave the door open so many of these heinous things that we see happening to children. Wide open.
Okay, so
I don't disagree with you, but I'm just saying, maybe it's semantics, but the point is this I'm making. There are provisions for the parental responsibility. The key thing here is to understand that this and any other legislation doesn't operate in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. If you are talking about an unwed mother or a single mother, let me put it that way, but a single father, there's a saying that mommy baby, father maybe. One of the key things that you have to understand
madam. That was prior to DNA.
Is, Mr. Duncan, that you can definitely say that that woman has had a child. That's her child. You have to establish the paternity of the father before you could even start to speak of parental responsibility. And so there are certain things the law is saying, let me see if you are in fact a judge, the father. And if you are a judge, the father, then let's see things flow from there. And so when you see the legislation telling you must meet a certain criteria, these are some steps that, common sense would tell you must take. Are you the father? Yes, let's determine how you're the father. Okay? You've either signed a birth certificate or you've said, look, I am the biological father, and let's take the test. Or you're saying not, because in most instances, when you reach the court, it's for maintenance. And the maintenance is usually the mother, and I could say probably 90% of the person is the mother asking for maintenance for this man. Sometimes he says, yes, this is my child. Other times he denies it. So the court goes through this list of determining that you are the father, and let's move from there. Okay, so when you see things as parental, the Act clearly talks about.
But what I'm speaking about, Madam Attorney,
Section 33, just let me finish this. The duty of a man to maintain his children, the duty of a woman to maintain their children. So these are duties that the Act places upon you, even within your parental responsibility. It is there. It could go further, I agree, but it is there.
My point is, I represent a constituency of fathers who have already been established as being the father of the child through those proper channels. So once we have already established, shouldn't now we be looking at the attitude and the aptitude of the parent to determine exactly who should be the custodial parent?
I agree.
If we're looking at if we are trying to be in accordance with what we sign on to internationally, where the best interest of the child should be served, shouldn't we start there? So when you're going to start off with it being not gender neutral, you can't tell me. You see, my thing is my thing is this: we have already agreed to some things internationally in the Geneva Convention, which speaks to the rights of children. I'm not asking for anything new or anything spectacular, these are simple things that we're asking for, where the state must respect the rights of parents and members of the extended family to provide guidance to the children which is appropriate to their evolving capacity. What's wrong with us agreeing to that? Why can't it work?
What I'm saying to you is you can, I mean, look, in the magistrate's court, you can't. In the Supreme Court, a father could petition the court for access and for custody. He can do that. The mother could do that, but normally it's the father. He can do that. These are things that he can do, not in the magistrate's court.
But that's my point.
All right. So, I mean, I don't think we can answer those questions, Cleaver. You know,
a statement like that, you've got to be specific with what you're referring to because it is possible. It's just not possible in the magistrate's court. The magistrate's court, you got to understand the purpose and the whole, the purpose of the magistrate's court is, it's a court of first instance. So it's more, the rules are much less strict. And so what you find is designed to give you a quick resolution for things. Now, when you're talking about the custody, care, and maintenance and access to children, that then goes to the Supreme Court because the rules are much more strict because you have to prove now that you are, in fact, a person who is fit and proper to actually deal with these children. Are an extremely unique set of people. And so the court will go through the exercise more meticulously, which is probably why they have it in the Supreme Court. They're not just going to say, okay, you have your name on the birth certificate and you're a judge, the putative father. The point is, let me see what your household situation is like. Yeah. What is your financial situation is like? Right. Even if you are able to financially do this, are you able to psychologically and mentally deal with rearing a child? Can a man raise a daughter? I can't dispute that. Can a woman raise a child? You look at more than that. So the Supreme Court will engage in that exercise involving the appropriate authorities, social services. They come in, they do their investigation. They see what's in the back of your yard. Do you have old tires, a bucket? You have water? Do you have running water? Do you have a toilet to flush? Things like that are important to children. So what I'm saying to you is these things are available. Yeah. It's just in the Supreme Court. So to say that, these persons don't have access to it is not true. But I want to just...
let's go back because I think, Cleaver, you're speaking from a point you eat, breathe, and sleep with this and everything, right? So you are much further along than most of us. And so we need to get a better understanding of where we are and then we can have the type of discussion that you are seeking to have. But let's get to some more of the rights and then we can talk about parental responsibility in depth. Darrell.
Okay. Well, now the thing about it is you have the general rights, which is in Section 4. Section 4 talks, let me just go back to Section 3. Section 3 talks about the guiding principle, which is that the child's welfare shall be the paramount consideration. That is something that's borrowed from the international conventions. You'll find that across jurisdictions and most persons who have implemented the Geneva Convention, International Rights of the Child, because that is what the court is actually looking at. So you'll find that across the board. The Bahamas reserve certain aspects, which is what Mr. Duncan talked about in terms of gender bias. But that is more to do with not just simply the Child Protection Act. That is across the board. You note we had a referendum recently on gender and how we treat it in this country. Now, if we were to just simply use the word gender, you're opening up so much more than just simply saying, I, as a judge or a putative father, have a right to the child. Once you start to create legislation about being not being gender biased, you're talking about marriages between same-sex individuals. So it opens up more than just simply looking at it in isolation. So I don't know if that's the reason they reserved it. I have not read the reasons, the objects and reasons why they reserved on that particular aspect, but I would presume that one of the reasons is that the minute you start to legislate gender or in this particular jurisdiction, people get all up in arms, but things like that. I don't know why, but that's what they do.
Because gender has changed.
So that may be a reason why.
The definition of gender has changed a bit, so,
Yeah, so you see what I'm saying? So to put it here is one thing. But when you start to do that now, it has a ripple effect on what now are we going to do with gender in relation to marriage, in relation to cohabitation, in relation to any other thing that comes up. So, we're looking at Section 4. A child shall have the right to leisure, which is normal, harmful, and which is not, normally harmful, and the right to participate in sports and positive cultural and artistic activities, to a just call on any social amenities, to exercise. You look at so many different rights. They have a right and entitlement to education. Then we talk about parental responsibility. Mm-hmm. So there are so many of them that are listed here, which is, to me, it may seem like a given, but sometimes children are not in environments which allows them to enjoy these types of things.
Right. All right, so let's take a quick break. When we come back, we want to focus on the parental responsibility aspect of it, and then we can get into more of the challenges with the legislation. This is Morning Blend. We're talking about the Child Protection Act. We've got Cleaver Duncombe and Darrell Taylor with us this morning. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more. Stay with us.
Comfort Suites Paradise Island is the best kept secret in the Bahamas. Located directly next door to the Atlantis Resort, you'll receive all the privileges of an Atlantis guest with all the benefits of a Comfort Suite stay. Enjoy everything Atlantis has to offer, including Aquaventure Water Park, plus all the amenities of Comfort Suites. Free Wi-Fi, free breakfast daily, and kids stay, play, and eat free. Visit ComfortSuitesPI.com.
Gran, it was good to see you, but we've got to get home.
Yep, we've got to let the dog out.
Speaking of dogs, you won't believe who I saw the other day.
Who?
Honey.
Remember Anton, Jeanette's oldest boy, the one with the dogs?
With local claims managers, we pay your motor claims fast. We're like a goodbye at your granny's that doesn't take 30 minutes.
We really got to get going.
So soon?
CG Atlantic Agents. Insurance, health, pensions, life. Good like that. Nassau Insurance Brokers and Agents Limited, trading as CG Atlantic Agents.
Roaming just got easier. Say hello to more with our new Liberty Prime plan. With more minutes, more texts, and more data to do the things you love right here at home and even when you travel. With the all-new Liberty Prime, Liberty Premium, and Liberty Elite, you've got one less worry. Roam again. Alive. Believe in best. Believe in best.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL. Growing wealth for future generations.
Cash is what we have been using for generations, but it's no longer the only way to pay or receive money. That is great news for business owners. I'm Lasanya Mizik, Managing Director at RBC Royal Bank, encouraging you to find out how going cashless can benefit your business with faster transactions and settlements, better cash flow management, plus reduce risk of theft. Learn more at rbc.com/Caribbean/go cashless. RBC Royal Bank. Banking reimagined.
Imagine. That's where every advancement begins, with an idea that things can be different, better. Now, imagine a world where your entertainment experience was all about you, your style, your show, at your budget. At Rev, that's what we've imagined. To join the conversation and learn more about the future of Rev TV, visit us at rev.bs/imagine.
Stay a step ahead of technology with certainty and support from Custom Computers. Our know-how team is here to help you zero in on your next big tech purchase, finding solutions that take your productivity to the next level using only the best and most reliable brands. With 4 stores all across Nassau on East Bay, West Bay, Old Fort Bay, and Palmdale, there's no stopping you from stepping up your tech. Reach out to us at 396-1100. Find trust in your tech. Count on Custom Computers.
Meet Jackie. Jackie's a hard worker with a steady income, but she has a personal loan and multiple credit cards to pay off. To keep her account current, Jackie opted for a loan from Fidelity Bank to consolidate her debt into one monthly payment and earn interest on a built-in savings account. Be like Jackie. Call 356-7764 to book a complimentary financial coaching session. Fidelity also offers virtual assistance. Fidelity, We're good for you.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children.
We are back here with Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan with Laverne Gardner. We are going through the Child Protection Act, part one of our special on this, as it is Child Protection, Child Abuse Prevention Month. We are talking with Darrell Taylor, attorney, and Cleaver Duncombe, activist. He's with Bahamian Fathers for Children Everywhere. All right, so we're going through the act, and we are now at the point, Darrell, where we're going to talk about I've lost my place there, but we were talking about the rights of children, and now we're going to get to the parental responsibility. Yes, that's it, parental responsibility. So let's talk about that. This is where we're going to get into maintenance as well, which is a hot issue, of course. Let's talk about what the act, what the law requires. Darrell?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
I want to go back to just listing some more of the rights of a child, because some of these things are extremely important. Well, all of them are, but so the child has a right to be protected from discrimination, violence, abuse, and neglect, to ensure that the child is enrolled at and attends school. They may not seem controversial on the face of it, but some of them are. But the fact that you're saying that a child is enrolled at school, what about those persons who are homeschooled? What about if you don't want your child to attend like the standard classes, the standard regular school? What will a law enforce that against me? Suppose I just want my child to stay home until they reach 10 or until they reach 18. I want them to have a certain guidance from my home that I prefer them not to be exposed to in school. Some people find it offensive that you have religious knowledge classes in this country. It's very much prevalent. You see it now. Persons are coming out and proclaiming their belief systems, atheist, agnostic, whatever. So what happens then if I don't ensure that my child is enrolled at and attends school? Is the law going to come down on me? I'm just saying these are things that are in the Child Protection Act. This is legislated. What happens if I don't do that? All right, so I just wanted to mention that very quickly. So we're talking about parental responsibility. Now, parental responsibility in Section 6 speaks to, the parents of a child are deceased. You have persons who are responsible for them. So parental responsibility it's not limited to just the mother or father, like Mr. Duncombe spoke to earlier. You have to acknowledge like the extended family. A lot of persons grew up with their sisters. I'm one of them. I grew up with my eldest sister. That was the norm in many instances. And then you have persons who grew up with their grandparents. So parental responsibility encompasses situations like that. So they too, once they have taken on the role of being the guardian or the parent of a child, they must ensure that the child has these rights that we spoke about earlier: leisure time, enrolled in social and sports activities, protection from discrimination and violence and abuse and neglect. So they now take on the role and they are responsible.
I just want to interject here very quickly, Dwight. I just want to point something out, because she's talking about they. You understand? I want to speak about the father. Let's talk about the father first. You can't just say they, Let's look at what is happening with the father. That's basically, what we're supposed to be focusing on, the parents.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
can't skip the father.
No. That's a big part. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that, Darrell Taylor. Mm-hmm.
Well, they there is really a almost like a general or generic term. They, he, she, them. I'm referring to all. Whoever has parental responsibility is to ensure that the child has these things that we spoke about in section 4.
Yeah.
Leisure time, sports, and things. So that's what I'm making reference to. I'm not speaking in terms of saying that if it's the father and mother or father or mother alone. I'm just saying it's whomever.
Yeah, as you said, there's a lot of people who aren't raised by their parents.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Right. They must ensure that these rights are, I guess, enforced. What is the word? So that's what I'm saying there in section 6. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. All right. So when we get into the issues of the powers of the father and the mother and the challenges that we see, especially when it comes to maintenance, and I know you feel very strongly about this, Cleaver Duncombe, but let's hear what the law says, and then we can get to your views in a second there. So, Darrell?
Well, perhaps if we want to deal specifically with this issue, let's hear what he has to say, and then we'll respond to that. Because, I mean, obviously this is a burning issue, so let's get that.
Okay. Right, she's playing lawyer. She's doing a lawyer work on me, but no problem. Let me present my case first. Right. But anyhow, when you look at the issue of maintenance, and they highlight it, right? I want Madam Attorney to understand here that maintenance isn't necessarily parental responsibility, but parental responsibility is maintenance. And that's where we went out of whack, when we talk about maintenance. I talk about, if you correct the issue of parental responsibility and the child is involved in your life, obviously the child's going to need something to eat, somewhere to sleep. They're going to need to go things pertaining to maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. You see, and that's where the child. That's basically where the child.
So you're saying that we're using maintenance as a crutch.
As a crutch,
and you're not really taking care of your children. You're just providing the court-mandated funds.
And that was designed for a constituency of persons who would have also been fathering children out of wedlock or outside of their matrimonial situation. So they craft the legislation basically for that constituency.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because when you're talking about maintenance, who would prefer to pay maintenance versus parental involvement? Think about it, Madam Attorney.
But can you legislate what you're talking about?
Yes, because when you look at one of the articles in the Geneva Convention, it states that parents will have joint primary responsibility for raising the child, or shared common responsibility.
Well, they should.
When you talk about joint custody, I was told by a former social service minister that cannot work in the Bahamas. Think about it. Shared common responsibility. Why can't
you mean mandating it by law can't?
Yes. Now, if you choose to opt out, you can do that. It's not a big deal if you choose to pay maintenance and don't get involved. Society, chances are, could pay a price for it. But ultimately, it shouldn't be the way you set legislation. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, now this is interesting. So, Darrell Taylor, let's talk about that. Can you legislate some of these things? This is what we should all be aspiring to. We should be striving for this. But can you make someone be a better parent through the law?
Okay, I'd like to go back because sometimes you need to clarify certain things. I said parental responsibility. If you know the list of things I mentioned, I said things like children being free from discrimination, violence, abuse, and neglect, ensure they're enrolled at school, leisure time. That has nothing to do with maintenance, which means that parental responsibility includes all of those things, including maintenance. And I agree with you. Maintenance is only one aspect of parental responsibility. And that is so true. Sometimes we confuse the two. And I agree with you on that, Mr. Duncombe, that parental responsibility is much wider than maintenance. Back to your question, Dwight, the answer, as far as I am aware, is no. The legislation cannot, let me put it this way, you cannot legislate morality. You cannot legislate or force someone to love and care for their children. Some people throw money at their children. They may have all of the name brand, best clothes, games, whatever have you, best schools. But if you ask a child, and I don't think we defined a child in all of our discussions. In the Child Protection Act, it's anyone under 18. But you ask a 16-year-old and you call them a child, they may want, they may want to rush upon you very quickly.
Because legally, legally, the law gives them consent to engage in sexual activities.
So at 16.
Right.
So as far as they're concerned, they're not children. But anyway, for the purposes of the Child Protection Act, they've gone up to age 18. I know in the Criminal Procedure Code, the age of responsibility and Child Protection Act is 10. So when you look at being criminally responsible, it's age 10. But the point here is this. When you look at, if you ask a child, and I'm going to give it my own definition from, let's say, maybe 7 and under, you ask them what they want, they will take the game and whatever have you and play with it maybe for an hour. And I'm speaking as a parent as well. That's it. Maybe an hour or two, that's it. But what they want is you. They want you to be present. They don't just want you to be there in body and say, well, I'm here, and you're on your phone or watching TV or talking to your friends, writing something. They want you there. The legislation can't do that. The legislation could say to you, make sure they have leisure time, so you pay for them to go do swimming or soccer or something. You ain't there watching the game. You pay there and you ask somebody. You may even pay for transportation, $5 a trip. You even see them play. But you ask the child, they want you there. They want to see the parent, mother, father, present and in the moment. Not just simply be there, but be in the moment. The legislation can never force you to do that.
No, and
even if they put
agree.
it in legislation, who is going to enforce that? It means that somebody must be walking around with you all day.
No, what I'm saying to you, Madam Attorney,
you can't do it.
Just let me say this very quickly. When you go to court, to establish parental involvement, right? You can lay out a whole list of things which you ought to be doing. But then, like you say, the court judge it. The court base it on the attitude and the aptitude. You may not be a parent who the child should be involved with, period, because of your lifestyle. You see what I'm saying? But the legislation shouldn't be suggesting that when you are deciding the ultimate interest of the child. For example, like the father right now, with the legislation is written, a father, even though he has been judged a punitive father, he cannot go and apply for a passport for the child. He has to get permission from the mother, or a letter or something to that effect. You see what I'm saying, Madam Attorney?
I agree.
So it's all screwed up. It's all screwed up. And I'm saying, let's correct these things.
Yeah.
Because even if you have parental involvement as a father, you still cannot. You're limited to certain things.
All right, we've got Laverne. Really quickly, Laverne.
If you look at even in terms of custody, the way that it's legislated, it says here, the mother of any child born out of wedlock shall be the guardian of that child.
Yes.
And a court shall be capable of exercising with respect to the child born to a single woman all the powers conferred upon it by this act with respect to child born within wedlock. So right away, I mean, you see the point of some of the things that Mr. Duncombe is referring to, because the law is saying that once you have this child, the right of the mother is ultimately responsible or is the initial guardian, whether,
she is fit already or not.
Yeah. So if the child is born out of wedlock, the mother is to have custody of the child. And so you may have a situation where now this father may want to have custody of the child, but based on the law, they may have to go to court, I'm assuming, to get custody, to prove that the mother is incapable. Is that correct, Ms. Taylor?
You're definitely correct, ma'am.
That is correct. So
wow.
They could get access and custody, but they have to go and show. I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know if I can explain it, but I'll try. This is a woman who has carried this child for 9 months, okay, or whatever term that they carried. So this child emanated from this woman. So you have to have a starting point. The law has a starting point. The law has presumptions. The presumption is that the mother is a fit person.
Yeah.
Because the child emanated from her. Yes, you may find afterward that she may not be a fit parent. So you have to show why. We have to extricate this child that she's carried for 9 months and we assume has treated properly because she's treated her body. We assume, like I said, this is a presumption, or let me put presume, that this is someone who at least cares enough to bring forth this child and wants. The presumption is that. There always are, you can always rebut a presumption. So the law has to have a starting point. So they give custody to the one that had the care and control of the child or the fetus before it was born.
Wow.
So you see things like this popping up because of that. Now, in a marital situation, you won't have that because that is a joint, that's a union. And so you have that 100% or 50% divided equally.
Yeah.
But when it comes to situations like this, you gotta, I want to say, operate with common sense. If that makes
it's a tricky situation.
It has a starting point.
Okay,
So the
we
presumption
are
in favor of that mother.
we're out of time, and we're gonna do part 2. Right? Everybody's coming back. Part 2 tomorrow. And Darrell Taylor and Cleaver Duncan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And so we're going to pick up with custody and cruelty and child abuse in part 2 tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. All right, Laverne sticking around with me for Morning Blend Business coming up after the news. Stay with us.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Wake up, it's a new day. Wake up, it's a new day.
Welcome back to Morning Blend Business on this Thursday, April 8th, 2021. Welcome back to our Morning Blend listeners. Once again, I'm Dwight Strachan. Laverne Gardner is with us. Good morning, Laverne. Good morning again. Yes?
Morning.
Yo, okay. Great. This morning, we are going to be talking about financial literacy. It is Financial Literacy Month, and we're going to be talking about financial literacy and financial psychology. We'll get some definitions on that and see if there's a way to determine just how literate you are when it comes to your finances. We're going to get into all of that this morning, part 1 of a series for this month of financial literacy. But before we get to that, though, it's time for your morning business report brought to you by CFAL. In your morning business report, Bahamas Air is negotiating with Royal Caribbean International for bulk rate sales of seats to provide airlift to cruise passengers when it sets sail from the Bahamas in June. RCI announced last month that it would begin sailing from its new home port of the Bahamas for the first time beginning June 12th, offering stops in Grand Bahama, its private island Coco Key, and Cozumel in Mexico. The decision to make the Bahamas its home port comes as the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention maintains its no-sail order from U.S. ports through to the end of this year, which cruise lines have lamented is killing their industry. Bahamas Air Chairman Tommy Turnquist says it means that the Bahamas must ensure that it has sufficient airlift to accommodate those passengers who would have to fly to the capital, where they would board the ships for their cruises. You can read more about this in today's Guardian business section. The Bahamas is ranked second in the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report for 2021 for economic participation and opportunity between men and women. The Global Gender Gap Index benchmarks 156 countries, analyzing whether gender parities exist in an effort to call government and civic leaders to action to close such gaps over time. There were 4 key categories of focus: economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. Overall, the Bahamas ranked 58 out of 156 nations. The economies that to date have the smallest economic participation and opportunity gaps include Laos, PDR, the Bahamas, Burundi, Iceland, Latvia, Moldova, and Sweden. It continues the report saying that once again, one of the most important sources of inequality between men and women is women's underrepresentation in the labor market. Participating in labor markets has been an important channel for economic empowerment of women and for building diverse, inclusive, and innovative organizations. But although the country showed high results in the area of economic participation and opportunity, even ranking the highest in the Latin America and Caribbean region, the Bahamas is ranked in the bottom 2 economies with regard to political empowerment, ranking 146 overall. Read more on this study in today's Guardian business section. And President of the World Bank Group, David Malpass, says the bank is very concerned about the human situation the economic crisis caused by the COVID pandemic will have on developing nations like the Bahamas. Malpass was speaking on questions of whether the pandemic is leading to a new debt crisis in the Latin America and Caribbean region as he addressed the press during the World Bank Group International Monetary Fund 2021 virtual spring meetings. The IMF, in its recently released World Economic Outlook, revised its 2021 projections for tourism-dependent Caribbean economies like the Bahamas down by 1.5% points to 2.4% regional growth. Specifically for the Bahamas, the IMF has projected 2% gross domestic product growth in 2021 and 8.5% in 2022 before falling again to 1.5% in 2026. Overseas, the U.S. president and the auto industry maintain that the U.S. is on the cusp of a gigantic shift to electric vehicles and away from liquid-fueled cars. But biofuels producers and some of their supporters in Congress aren't buying it. They argue that now is the time to increase sales of ethanol and biodiesel, not abandon them. To help address climate change, President Joe Biden has proposed an infrastructure plan that includes billions of dollars to pay for 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations, electrify public vehicles, and enhance the nation's power grid. The moves follow initiatives in California and other states to mandate electric vehicle sales and a goal by General Motors to shift production fully to electric vehicles by 2035. Yet any shift from liquid-fueled cars to electric would be gradual, given the fleet of 279 million petroleum-powered vehicles now on U.S. roads. And producers of corn-based ethanol and soy-based biodiesel argue that biofuels will be needed for the foreseeable future. In your Market Watch, recapping trading on the BISX. From Wednesday, your market movers: AML Foods Limited moving 2,000 shares, closing unchanged at $5. Bank of the Bahamas moving 425, unchanged at $1.59. Consolidated Water down 3 cents to $2.57. Emir Incorporated up 3 cents to $11.27. The BISX All Share Index closing at 1,962.53, unchanged. That's your Market Watch. And that is your morning business report brought to you by CFAL, growing wealth for future generations. You're listening to Morning Blend Business. Remember, you can tweet us at Morning Blend 969 or facebook.com/Morning Blend 969. Text us 422-4796. We'll be back discussing financial literacy after these messages.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Beulah, gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood. We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too? Of course we can. But we could be in deep trouble if they find out. We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami. So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles. Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal. So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
For the past 33 years, Great Commission Ministries has been defending the poor and hurting, feeding the hungry, and sheltering the homeless. We invite you to support our Live to Give program and make a difference in these challenging times. Become a donor by giving a one-time annual gift or a monthly donation of $50 or $100. Call Great Commission Ministries at 325-5801 for more details. Or visit our headquarters at 237 Wolf Road. Join Live to Give today. This public service announcement is proudly sponsored by this radio station.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
If I could live my life far into yesterday, I'll talk with the great Pompey and Black Dick too. Oh, I'll chat with the Milo Butler and the great C.R. Walker, Sir Cecil Wallace Whitfield. I'll say, how do you do, yeah. I'll find Dame Doris Johnson and Sir Randall Fox.
Welcome back to Morning Blend Business. I'm Dwight Strachan, joined by Laverne Gardner. And this morning, we are talking about financial literacy. It is Financial Literacy Month here in the Bahamas. And we begin a series this month looking at financial literacy and financial matters, personal finance matters. Joining us this morning, very pleased to welcome from Druber Solutions. We're very pleased to have back with us Nathaniel Butler. And we also have personal finance and business strategist Kayleen Newton. Great to have you both with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Dwight. I'm happy to be back and to be with Kayleen today.
All right, so let's get some definitions out of the way. Financial literacy, exactly what does that mean? What does that mean? And can you be financially illiterate?
Yes, you can. So let's start off with a simple definition that I both Kayleen and I would agree on. So in a large sense, financial literacy is just the possession of the skills that allow people to make smart decisions with their money. A more comprehensive definition of it would be it helps persons have a better knowledge skills and also knowledge skills and habits in regards to the overall management of their money. Can someone be financially literate? Well, I'll let Carly speak to that.
So you throw the ball to me with a hard one. So definitely, persons can be financially illiterate. And that's not from a point of view of it being a negative. It's just not having all of the skill set in order to make informed and effective and impactful financial decisions with the financial resources that you have.
Right.
And just to add to Nathaniel's definition too, it's also how you leverage those resources in order to grow them. And so you definitely can be financially illiterate, but I want to say that that is something that you cannot be blamed for in a sense. And what I mean by that is you only are as knowledgeable as the information you know. And we know that this is something that is not taught in school.
Right.
This isn't something that is taught historically in civic organizations, through churches, through whatever forums that exist. So how could you have the knowledge if you're not taught the knowledge?
Wow. Okay.
However,
Mm-hmm.
the positive is that you can definitely become financially literate and ensure that you can leverage that information to become wealthy, to become stable, to become whole in your finances.
All right. So you said a mouthful there, but before I want to dive into that, but before we do that, so it's possible then that you could go through your whole life, as you said, we aren't learning about this in school. You could go through your whole life as a financially illiterate person. It is quite possible. We've got many examples of that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
My goodness.
Kayleen. Good morning, Nathaniel. Good morning, Kayleen.
Good morning, Laverne.
Dwight, I always get excited when you have guests on from Grand Bahama.
I figured that's what this screaming was about.
Especially people I know and admire.
Okay, I
So
figured.
let me just establish this girl love right here.
Appreciate you.
Wow.
But what I actually do have a question though. What I wanted to know is, and of course, Nathaniel, there's brotherly love here too, so don't feel left out. But what I wanted to know from both of you or either of you, are you finding it now more that people are more receptive to becoming financially literate? People are more concerned about their finances in terms of the legacy that they want to leave or the legacy that they were left. Are you finding people more receptive now as opposed to, say, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, or even now because of the pandemic?
Great question. So
That's a big question. Nathaniel, you started the gate with that.
I see what you did there, but okay. So to your point, yes. Honestly, well, let's look at it from a statistical standpoint. Back in 2018, I think they did the study in 2017, the central bank, they did a analysis on financial literacy here in the Bahamas. They called up about 1,000 Bahamians randomly. And out of that 1,000 Bahamians, and they test their knowledge, their financial knowledge, only less than 43% of them were able to even answer the questions.
Wow.
And out of that 43% of them, we found that it was more the younger persons who were a part of the survey who were providing more of the answers than the older. So to your point, the younger generations, as you look at millennials and you go in all the way down to Generation Z's, they are more aware of what type of lifestyle that they want to live. And as a result of that, they have the correlation or the connection that the more I know about financial literacy, the more I empower myself to live that desired lifestyle.
Yes. And just to continue with what Nathaniel said, and to touch base and illuminate that central bank report, that report also included a statistic where nearly 50% of Bahamians were struggling to make ends meet.
Oh.
And so that means that with their monthly earnings, there was still inefficient funds to cover their living costs. So, Laverne, you touch on legacy or having the understanding from past generations of what money or what it looked like, financial literacy, and what do we see today? And just in that space of time, too, with the demographic around the 45 to the 55-year-old who now understands that retirement is right around the corner, yes, there is an increased awareness to see how I can best utilize my finances to ensure that I can leave a legacy, or I can just even retire without any worry of where the next dollar would be coming from.
All right, so let's talk about that report and how do you determine that you are financially literate or illiterate, that you have challenges? What type of questions? You mentioned some of it, but what type of things do you need to look for? What are the signs that you are struggling?
That's also a great question, Dwight.
Excellent question.
So if you look at financial literacy as a whole, there are several subcomponents of it. So we could break it down. You have from savings, you have the area of investment, you have the area of insurance, the list goes on and on. And when you look at each one of those areas, it's just a matter of now asking questions. Do you understand either the concept or do you understand the product? For example, asking persons to, do you understand the concept of inflation, compound interest, storage of value? And you'll find that.
What was that last one? What was that last one?
Storage of value.
Okay.
Storing value.
Okay.
So,
sure.
So when you start acting along the lines of those type of concepts or products, such as insurance policies, term life, whole life, universal life, ASUs, bonds, stocks, mutual funds, and though these terms are constantly thrown around by experts, you find that the common man, the laity, those who do not work within the industry, many of them are not really sure what these terms and terminology mean. And now they're making decisions based off of being ignorant to even just the basic concepts of these terminologies, concepts, and also products.
Wow. And it's going to be, would you think the majority of the population, or at least more than 50%, going to be struggling when it comes to knowing about some of those things that you mentioned?
Honestly, we have improved. We have improved slightly, not a whole lot. We have improved slightly because remember now, as Colleen would have mentioned, a couple of years back, the amount of information that is available today was not available back then. And then also the mindset, and we're going to get into it, money scripts and the financial psychology, because that's really the bulk of our problem here in the Bahamas. That we have so many different money myths that existed years ago. I'll give you two very quickly. We have the money myth in the area of estate planning, that if you write a will, you die the next day. Like that is common in our society. That is prevalent in our society. There's another money myth if you go back a generation or possibly two generations, their retirement plan was their children. And we joke about these things, but no, for someone, that's their real financial strategy for retirement.
Still very prevalent. Still very prevalent. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but when you look at the generations, like I said, millennials, Generation Z, no, it's about, for them, no, I now know I need to get a pension plan. I'm not going to rely solely on NIB. I'm either going to work for a company that has a pension plan, or I'm going to see one of the financial institutions that provide a pension plan. I may not know all the details and everything surrounding it, but I know I need to get this product for retirement. And so we're slightly seeing a change, but for Ms. Newton and myself, we're not satisfied. We want to increase the level of financial education, financial literacy within the country, because that's the only way we all, as a society, as a community, can improve.
So, Kayleen Newton, why do you think we aren't doing this in schools? Why aren't we teaching people the basics about interest, as Nathaniel mentioned, and about how to use a credit card and debit card? Well, why aren't we doing this?
From a subconscious level, I think that we believe, or, from a cultural standpoint, it was unnecessary. And we came and we have a educational system that was patterned after another country's educational system that specifically would deal with the sciences and the mathematics. And what we need to understand is financial literacy or the teaching of those concepts are not synonymous with mathematics. And it seems as if you didn't have a desire to go into that area, to be an accountant like myself, or to just journey on that professional pathway, it was not an option until you got to higher education. I cannot speak specifically to why it is not in the schools, but I can say, as Nathaniel said, we need to get it in the schools. And, we need to understand that if we have a financially empowered citizenry, from the young persons to the older generations, we will see a shift economically on a macro level. And a lot of us don't realize that what we do as individuals, or what we expect from our economy, is a symptom of what the lack of knowledge that we don't have. So definitely, I can't speak to that, but I can say it needs to get into the school, and you will see a vast difference.
Yeah. All right. So what are some of the things you are hoping to see, and what are some of the things that someone who might be illiterate, financially illiterate, or financially struggling, what can they do to improve their financial literacy?
So from the at its basic, you have to admit that you are in that place where you are financially literate. You have to also take responsibility for not having the knowledge. You have to also forgive yourself for not having the knowledge. A lot of us sit in a victim state when it comes to money management, especially when there's more month than money. That's a phrase that a lot of persons in this arena use. We say that we have more bills and more debt and more expenses than any money that we could generate, or any income that we could bring in. From the second standpoint, we have to understand the difference between needs and wants. And so I think that also contributes to why a lot of persons have a lack of understanding of finances, because we would call a want a need, especially in a circumstance when we have less income, less revenue to support our expenses. So from just that initial stage, that needs to happen. And then obviously you have to get the information. You have to seek out the information, seek out the knowledge, seek out the individuals. There are a lot of us like Nathaniel who are educators, and we do this in some circumstances for free. And the knowledge can help a lot of people. But when you put it out there, persons don't want to deal with that. And then it goes into where we're going to head, the financial or the money psychology, on why it's just not an easy fix, or just use these steps and then you're going to be able to move from where you're at to where you want to be.
Yeah, you mentioned that term, financial psychology. Tell us more about that. What are we talking about exactly there?
So, just so that it can be an easy definition, but financial psychology is the study of the behavior around your money, your mindset around your money, how it relates to how you spend your money, how you save, how you invest, the decisions you make with your money. So it is just talking about that behavior. Now, if it's not taught in the schools with financial literacy, where does that behavior come from?
Right.
That behavior comes from your environment, your experiences, from your family, from your church, from your community. It is these experiences that come together that subconsciously create your money psychology. So there's a statistic that I always ensure that when I have an opportunity to have these types of conversations, I would reiterate the statistic. And it says that by the time a child is 10 years old, 80% of their money, emotion, experience, the psychology around their money has already been determined.
My goodness.
80%. And by the time they are 19, 100% has been determined. So this is the reason now why financial literacy needs to happen in the school, because it's at that age level where your foundation is created. And this is what you go out into the world with and make your decisions around your money.
So I was going to ask you if you can be too young to learn about this, and apparently not.
No.
Can you be...
Just how you have literacy for kids when it comes to English and phonics and understanding that from that context, it's the same thing. So you just integrate the information or the language and the definition and the terms and the understanding based on the age level. Yeah. So you're never too young.
What about, are you ever too old? Let's say you're 40, 45, 50, you're 10 years out of retirement. You're not financially literate. You've kind of been, like you said, living the way that you have been exposed to living, that you have now, to your understanding, is the norm. So you're not really focused on those kinds of things like stocks, like bonds, investing, saving. At this point, is there any redemption?
Yes. You're never too old either to become financially literate. Wow. And that's an excellent question, because sometimes we believe that all is lost. But that is the reason why the money psychology part of it is more important, because if you're able to disrupt that mindset, if you're able to say that and say to yourself, I no longer have to be and do what I've always been doing because now I know differently, or I have an opportunity to move differently, you can disrupt that. So you're never too old. Laverne, I have many success stories with older individuals who thought that they would never be able to retire debt-free or even have an estate plan or a retirement plan, and they started in their 50s or even in their early 60s. Oh, wow. So there is redemption.
And also I want to add to that, currently in our country now, many companies, and it's a sad reality, but many companies would wait until a person is approaching retirement, whether it's 5 years out, maybe a year out, maybe even 6 months out, and then have them sit in a workshop on retirement, knowing perfectly well that many of them are not in a position to retire. And I love the point that Ms. Newton says, because there's intervention. Once you have intervention, whether you are retired right now or about to retire, there's some things that you can do as long as you're open. You can literally change your situation. You could change your circumstances. It may not change overnight, but applying the right steps and having the right attitude, you can change it over a period of time. One of the things that I would love to advocate for many of the persons in HR who are listening to this, or many business owners or small business owners, or even in the C-suite, let's not wait until a person is about to retire to have the money conversation with them at work. Let's have that as soon as you hire them. Let's have that 5 years after you hire them. Wow. And have it, in intervals, so that it's more of a kind of check-in or check-up before then it being when you retire. Here, have this knowledge, and then go live the rest of your life in retirement. When in many cases, we all know most persons cannot retire in this country.
My goodness. All right, I want to talk more about that and talk about how you would do it. How would you get someone to be literate as a child and at different stages as a teenager and somebody in their 20s, 30s, and 40s when we come back from the break. And we've got some interesting text messages as well. We are talking with Nathaniel Butler and Kayleen Newton about financial literacy and financial psychology. We're going to be back with more after the break. Stay with us.
Sir Henry Taylor, Sir Kendall Isaacs too.
You invest in your children, your home, and your community. But are you investing in your financial future? At CFAL, we specialize in investment management, retirement planning, mutual funds, and private wealth management. Our team of experts never stops helping you plan for tomorrow. Because tomorrow begins today. Call us at 502-7010 to see what our financial advisors can do for you. CFAL, growing wealth for future generations.
Beulah, gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood. We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too? Of course we can. But we could be in deep trouble if they find out. We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami. So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles. Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal. So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
For the past 33 years, Great Commission Ministries has been defending the poor and hurting, feeding the hungry, and sheltering the homeless. We invite you to support our Live to Give program and make a difference in these challenging times. Become a donor by giving a one-time annual gift or a monthly donation of $50 or $100. Call Great Commission Ministries at 325-5801 for more details. Or visit our headquarters at 237 Wolf Road. Join Live to Give today. This public service announcement is proudly sponsored by this radio station.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
And we've got your final look at weather for today. We've got high pressure center north of the area that will continue to dominate the weather across the Bahamas. For all areas today, your forecast calls for variably cloudy and warm conditions with a slight chance of an isolated shower or two through tonight. High temperatures today getting up to a warm 81 Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius, but overnight lows getting down to a cool 63 Fahrenheit, 17 Celsius. In your extended outlook, high pressure will continue to dominate the weather over the islands for the weekend. So for Friday, we're looking at partly sunny and warm conditions with a slight chance of a passing shower or two, becoming fair and cool at night, breezy in the southeast Bahamas. Pretty much the same for Saturday, partly sunny, warm, and breezy with a slight chance of a passing shower or two, becoming fair and cool at night. That's your morning blend weather check. We're back here with Morning Blend Business on this Thursday morning. Dwight Strachan along with Laverne Gardner. We are talking with Nathaniel Butler and Kayleen Newton about financial literacy, financial psychology in the country, part one of a four-part series as this is Financial Literacy Month in the Bahamas. All right, so we've got some interesting text messages here. I wanted to get your views on this one. This is a sinister tweet, text. This person says, they don't teach financial education in schools because if everyone is educated, then who's going to work in the low-income jobs? Oh, boy. What do you say to that? What do you say to that? Is that why, I mean, as a result of the service economy largely that we have here, does it not matter, especially when you're so dependent on tips and that's not going to be consistent? Is that likely how we ended up here?
In all honesty, once someone is financially literate, that does not exempt them from having entry-level jobs when they enter the workforce. So regardless of how you look at it, the key to this conversation will inspire persons to generate more if that's where they're at currently, It will inspire them to either pursue a career, maybe even start out their own business, or even maybe even start their own social enterprise. So it's a constant movement. It's not staying still. I think the caller, its focus is that once you have this populace educated, there won't be anyone there. That's not going to happen. There's going to always be an influx of persons in the entry-level job, then transitioning into professions, career, entrepreneurship.
And don't you
and financial literacy doesn't automatically move you into a certain economic bracket.
No.
You still need to have the information and apply the information in order to see how best your decisions are. So I agree totally with what Nathaniel said. You know, it from the point of view, it needs to be expanded to understand. And we could use it, you know, just give a parallel. Because you are literate and you can read and you can write and you can express yourself in the English language. That doesn't negate the fact that you have different levels of skill set as Nathaniel said, to move from entry level to wherever. So it doesn't just take you to a different space. You still have to apply that knowledge in order to move yourself from where you're at to where you want to be.
And then also, don't you think, you know, even if you consider that person who maybe has an entry-level position, you want them to be financially literate so that they make decisions, even from that standpoint, wise money decisions. From that standpoint, regardless of the amount of their salary, you want them to be able to make those kinds of intentionally wise, conscious decisions about how they spend their money, what, you know, debt they may or may not put themselves into.
Right. Yep. Very good.
And we always talk about that. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. How much money you invest to ensure that you can now have a legacy. So it's more to having this financial literacy or not having it that will take you to a different level economically. So definitely, Laverne, definitely.
Great points. All right, so let's go through the stages in life. And how would you address with a youngster, toddler maybe, or a child in primary school? What do you think are some of the keys to enhancing their financial literacy? What are some of the things you'd recommend?
So from my perspective, you would definitely teach them the concept between needs and wants. You would also include the concept of delayed gratification. And then you just have the simple concept of saving, spending, and sharing. So those are three very key takeaways that you would give to a toddler or, at that age for them to understand. Simple concepts.
Yeah. Yep. And I guess that would continue into adolescence as well.
And the reason why you start from concepts and not from counting is because it goes to the money psychology. Because it's how they respond. What are the behaviors around what they do with money? What is their mindset? I can give you an example. If a child is always given money, whether it's coins or $1 to do something, they now connect that the only way they get money is by doing a certain thing.
Now, is that a bad thing or is that a good thing?
It depends on how it's taught.
Right.
Because if it's taught from a point of view of a poverty mindset or and not from a growth mindset or an entrepreneurial mindset,
right,
then it definitely is a negative. So it's just how you do it.
Any special considerations for teenagers when you get up there and they're getting closer to graduation? They want to buy items, buy those video games, buy their own tennis, get ready for prom. What types of things do we need to be doing with them?
Nathaniel, you want to get that? I'll start by just saying this. It isn't a concept of denial when it comes to money. It is really understanding the value of what money can do or what your resources can do or how you can start to create financial goals. And you can do that as you are a teenager. And then you would see that there's a difference when you start adulting, how you deal with your money. But I know that Nathaniel can speak more to that too.
Okay.
Yes. So, and I agree with Ms. Newton said, that at the end of the day, we want to make sure we start off with concepts first. We don't want to tell them the what. We need to make sure they understand the why first, and then transition into the, okay, these are the tips, the strategies, and the things that you need to be more cognizant of. Because as mentioned before, we're now going to build on what was taught when they were children. We're going to talk about the money and emotions. We're going to talk about dreams, goal setting, lifestyle choices. This is still all financial psychology. You know, we're going to talk about where did you learn about money, so we can associate all of the good money habits, attitudes appropriately, and all of the bad ones, identifying them and knowing what steps we need to take to change them. And then we go into all of the budgeting, account management, credit profile, loan and debt, entrepreneurship, career, risk and insurance, retirement and investment. We could go into all of those things, because once the foundation is set, now we can build. Too many persons have built only focusing on the external factors and values. And that's why even with that level of empowerment, persons are still not making the right financial decisions. And you're looking at them and say, well, you should know better. But like Ms. Newton said, if their introduction to money was from a scarcity, poverty perspective, then everything, their whole perspective, the boundaries that they have in regards to their family might even be non-existent. So now they will borrow money and give it away to family members and be stuck with the bill. They will tell you that they can't save, all because when you look at all of the decisions that they make with the disposable income that they have, it's just going into wastage.
Wow. Boy. All right. So once you've started working, you are getting that income in. What are some key elements that people need to be keeping in mind?
Well, I'll tell you this much, and I cracked the joke with this. So, you know, it's so interesting that if, let's just say someone worked a summer job, after they would have graduated, they work a summer job in the public service or a corporation of some sort. As soon as the summer period is over and management decides to retain that person on a permanent contract, after the probationary period, only 2 steps or 2 actions you find most persons in this country would do. The first, they're going to go see a financial institution. And the second, they're going to ask for that letter, that job letter from the HR department. That is so common. Then to Laverne's point, you almost start a cycle of not only just trying to establish, because the goal for them is to establish credit, but you now start almost a cycle of going into debt and possibly, not everyone, but possibly never really getting out of that.
Yeah, I agree. And so the first step or strategy or you know, just a tip that you would give is start to save. Save before you spend, because there's something that we call the 8th wonder of the world. It's called compound interest. So a lot of us, we say, okay, the banks are not giving that much interest, but at least if you start to save, you have opportunities where you can now go into more sophisticated products like stocks and bonds and investments that can now accelerate the value of your dollar. So the first thing I would say to someone who comes out of high school, starts working, save. Try to save as much as you can, especially if you don't have any commitments.
But you need that car, though. You can't rely on the bus system. You can't rely on rides from people. You got to get that car.
remember now, as was mentioned when they were a child, a kid, they were taught delayed gratification. So even if you were telling them that, they understand, no, I need to save because I could buy my car cash. You get what I'm saying? Secondhand use. And then work my way up to the car of my choice.
Okay.
Nathaniel, you putting things out there. I don't know if the bank's really going to support that.
I put it like this. The banks will get behind a savvy investor. The banks will get behind a person who is financially literate, because honestly, they're the better clients. You're somebody who can qualify. You don't have to keep bending the rules, moving the risk profile just to accommodate some persons. No, you have persons who can qualify, and you don't have to worry about whether or not you can get that payment. And that's why.
Right. And to add to that, a lot of the banks created their strategy around the population. So when you start to become more financially savvy and you start to get the population in a different place, the banks will now have to acclimate to what the population is, because guess what? Banking is a business. So why wouldn't I want to tap into that population who could enhance my business instead of me having to, as Nathaniel say, always have to take into consideration moving the benchmark when it comes to a risk profile.
Wow.
So definitely, Laverne, it will shift the culture even in the banking institutions, because now they have a different audience, they have a different clientele, and they'll have to now accommodate that type of client.
I'll even go a step further, even the securities component as well, because all of the regulations that we have in place is not to protect the savvy investor, is actually to protect the commoner who has may not be as knowledgeable. But now if they are more knowledgeable, now we have or are empowered through legislation to now tap into resources or other markets outside of the country a little bit more easier, a little bit less capital.
Right. Wow. All right. We only have a minute left, and we're getting a text about pensions, and that's a whole show. But how soon do you think you should be saving for retirement? Once you start working, is that when you should start?
As soon as you start generating money.
As soon as you start generating money.
And if you are,
and that could be in school and you generating money.
Oh my goodness! Wow. And if you find yourself in your 40s and you haven't done that yet, I mean, what does that mean? And how far back? Get started.
Get started. National insurance is not a retirement plan at all.
Right.
And so you need to get started.
Okay. A lot to think about there. This has been a great conversation. And again, we're going to be talking about these type things all month long, every Thursday. Nathaniel Butler, thank you so much. Kayleen Newton, great talking with you. Nice meeting you. This is wonderful stuff. And thank you. Happy National Financial Literacy Month to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Laverne, thank you so much. It's been a great show today.
Yes, it has. I'm trying to come up with a new plan now that Nathaniel said I can't rely on my kids.
Right? A lot of people think like that. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, boy. But anyway, thank you all so much. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more Morning Blend business right here following Morning Blend on Guardian Radio 96.9. Dwight Strachan, have a great day. Stay tuned for On the Clock with Aaron Green.